Peace, Moors. What's up? Moors in America. How y'all doing? We have the brother Aseer on here with us today. We're going to go in, talk about some stuff dealing with the Moorish paradigm. You definitely want to tune in. You definitely want to share this, get this information out there, because we're not about just talking to each other, just preaching to the choir. Share this with your family and friends. Let everybody know. Stick around. The brother Sid is in here. We went ahead and did it yesterday. Went for like 2 hours. I didn't even know we were gonna go that long, but yeah. So Sid's in here. We're gonna bring him in a minute. First, I do want to give honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I also want to give honors to the Forerunner Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and honors to all the Moors out there, all the active Moors putting in work. Whether you call yourself a Moor or not, we're not even getting all caught up in all that, right? So to everybody putting in work and keeping it positive, keeping it pushing, I just want to give honors and of course to everyone who's out here helping to spread the information, sharing the website, moorsinamerica.com, sharing, the videos and everything. Thank you. Because, we get emails from people all the time who are like really touched, like the information is really helping people. And believe it or not, there's a lot of people who are like watching this for the first time. There's people watching this who, believe it or not, haven't even heard of Aseer before, which is crazy because he's been doing it forever and like everybody knows him. But there's still people who are like hearing it and they're getting blown away because the information is vibing with them, and that's helping to raise consciousness as a whole. And so that's really why we do it. So we give honors always to the Prophet for bringing our divine creed and nationality, and so that we may learn to love instead of hate. And we're going to go ahead and bring the brother Aseer in. All right. Peace.
Peace, brother. How you doing, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can hear you loud and clear.
Excellent.
Islam.
To human families of the planet Earth. Thanks for having me on once again. Thanks to all of the ancestors that came before us, and thanks for having me on, man.
Islam. Yeah, and we got to have you on because it's like, we've been following you for a minute, since MySpace days. It's been a while. I know you've been doing it even longer than that. Yeah, like
word. Wow, you said MySpace. Word. That was a minute.
Yeah. So yeah, you've been on it since before everybody could just get up on here and just watch videos on YouTube. Back when you had to actually get out and put in work to learn, put in footwork.
The library and shit.
Yeah, because like even for me, getting hip to the Moorish nationality, I learned that from meeting a brother you probably heard of named Elihu Pleasant Bay. He used to have his shop set up in Memphis, and that's where we were.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like that was before.
Angel thing.
Yeah, Swift Angel before YouTube and all that. So it's like, yeah, we've been on it for a minute. And this brother, what really like made us pay attention is because we saw this brother with his family, and it's like we could vibe with that, because it's like if you out here teaching people, you know what I'm saying, and you're not even able to like hold it down or hold it up, you know what I'm saying, with your household, with your Holy Trinity, it doesn't even make sense. It's hard to even take somebody seriously if they not doing it like that. So we see the brother with his queen, his son, and we know the brother's authentic and real. So we definitely tune in and listen, then vibe with the information. You guys who if anybody's tuning in that hasn't heard this brother before, check out the description. We have all the links in there for his websites, and also, if you don't mind, tell the people too, because there's some people that's asking like how to get in touch with you. But you're in for a treat. And if you could let everybody know how they can get in touch with you.
Anybody wants to holler at me directly, you can do so through houseofel@hotmail.com. If you go on Facebook, you can hit me up at Aseer Ali Cordoba. Those are really the main two portals right now. If you want to holler at me directly about this or any of the topics we might talk about tonight, yeah,
right, that's what's up. Y'all got it. And then, of course, you can always just go to the description. You'll see the links in there. You can click on those links. And this is one of the real ones, like somebody just said in the chat. You know, that's why it's here, right? And I mean, like this, yo, that's extremely important, right? Because you got some people out here, right? It's like teaching, right? They're teaching other people, and like they don't even have their household. Like they don't even, their children are like listening to Cardi B and Nicki Minaj and all that. You know what I'm saying? They teaching, and their own children think that what they teaching is corny and whack. So it's like you have to be able to get your household, like your woman's on it with you, and that's what's up. I can relate to that. I'm pretty sure your son knows he's a Moor and understands what that means, and that's important because, like, you seriously, there's some people out here that's like their own children don't even know, and it's like, hey, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, so you know, and you can't be out here trying to save the world and you can't even get your own household. So that's like really important, right? And so, yeah, but yeah, you had said something the other day on Facebook where you were speaking on that anomaly, the Oumuamua that they're seeing, like,
Oumuamua, right?
Yeah, and if you could like go in on that a little bit more.
You know, recently they went through in past like 2 years. Remember, like a year and a half ago, everything was like about Bitcoin, you know, and then that kind of just went away. And then right after that, when the dust settled the Bitcoin thing, it was the flat Earth thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like Bitcoin, flat Earth, what all people talk about. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
And at phase that kind of like got played out, nobody's talking about it. So it's the same thing with this World War thing, is that it's been approaching galactically for some time now. It's just that in order to obfuscate people's understanding of anything dealing with anything or as they say, non-Terran based, Terran meaning like, or Latin meaning Earth, Terra, Terra. They needed to obfuscate people's perception in general. You understand? So, like, if they knew that let's say if they knew a giant asteroid was crashing on Earth, right? What they would do is they wouldn't necessarily start banging on the fact that it's crashing on Earth. What they'll do is they'll try to get people to debate whether or not asteroids exist.
Word.
So the more that in that whole process, the asteroid is still coming. Whether or not the asteroid actually exists, you understand?
Word.
It actually stops it from coming in the mind of people.
Yeah. So they coming in with that misdirection.
Yeah. They're coming in with it to give people the false illusion that it's really immaterial. So how are we even going to accept the fact that this instead of the remnant of the earlier solar system coming back, right? How are we going to deal with that when people can't even agree on what shape the world is? You know what I'm saying? So if you believe the world is round, then when you see pictures of, or so-called, because you can't really see a picture of it, but when you see the so-called imaging or the rendered images of what this thing potentially looks like on a Facebook post that I posted with that, I showed like a graph of what they supposedly it looks like. So in me even posting that, I'm not saying that this is exactly how it looks, but I'm saying that this is the closest rendering to this anomaly that can be exhibited in this medium. You understand what I'm saying?
Word.
So I'm not saying that the meteor, in a sense, looks exactly like that or is in its position like that. What I am saying is that the fact that it exists is true, and the fact that this thing has been coming all these years is true. Like we talked about it on Superhero Radio almost 7 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But with all of the news cycles going down and up, it's like peaks and valleys. So a lot of people don't pay attention or they'll forget. But symbolically, it's more of a symbol of that which is coming from the farthest reaches of space back into our literally every day.
Yeah.
At one point or the other. You understand? I mean, then somebody was talking about, oh well, the satellites predicted that it's this and that. But what you have to understand is that what we understand is how we've been taught even satellites exist is not even true, man. Like, there's no piece of machinery orbiting the Earth. It don't work like that. They hook these things up to weather balloons, and they get them farthest up to the upper atmosphere that they can go, and then they have them on trajectories with like little, like almost like air bursts that basically push them towards a certain way. All of the computer stuff that we're talking about, like Wi-Fi, internet, all that stuff happens with cables, man, in the ground, in the sea.
Yeah.
But because we've been growing up watching, movies, you know what I'm saying? And things, we believe that it is what it is, but there's not one satellite in the outer atmosphere that is revolving around the Earth within a super terrific speed to the point where it's not crashing into the other 80 million satellites that's out there. Like, it don't work like that.
Word.
That's why when they find these crashed satellites, there's always some sort of balloon attached. Because all of the heavy fiber optic cables, all of the heavy Wi-Fi internet, all that stuff is run through ground. They just tell you that it's running through waves and all that because people don't understand how you microwaves or radio waves or transistor waves or how any of these things work. People don't even understand how gravity works. So, we're always at the beck and call for we're always at the detriment of having to look through the world through the eyes of cave people, and it's we're never going to move forward by doing it.
Word.
So yes, I believe the asteroid thing is there and it's moving closer, and it has symbolic natures based upon the different times it's passed over. But it's no different than it's no different than any of the other things that we've been talking about, or you got what you call it coming in 2019, 2020, Apophis. Another big one that's coming through. You know what I'm saying? So but all of these things are remnants to ancient matter that was already here. So really, like when you watch movies of like when you see like a planet blow up, like in Star Wars or movies like that, you'll see like a big explosion. And then after a while, everything that was exploded out starts to come back and coalesce within itself. This is where we get nebulas and stuff like that. You understand? So as much as things implode or explode, there's always a point where they come back together. And so I feel like these giant pieces of asteroids or whatever are all remnants or connected to the ancient pieces of where they came from. You know what I mean? Which was in this side of the solar system or galaxy for whatever reason. And these are ways that these things start to coalesce and come back together. Because the universe is always expanding. Then it gets to a point where it gets so expansive that nothing can come back. So the fact that things are actually revolving, coming back into the solar system, says that we're actually maybe, instead of the universe expanding in the exponential way that we think, maybe the universe that is expanding is actually our consciousness, and is drawing these celestial things back towards our sphere of influence.
Word.
That's another way to look at it, as opposed to always galaxies.
Word. That makes sense, and that kind of makes sense. Like when you think of like every couple months, there's some other like apocalyptic type of event, or somebody seeing something, and then you also are we're always seeing things like a blue moon, when that's like a saying once every blue moon, but it is happening like every year now. The red blood moon
every other month. You get a blood moon, a blue moon, a red moon, sanguine moon, a hunter's moon, a harvest moon. Like all these shit is doubling up. Like it used to be, these things were rare. Like it used to be when we were kids, like things like twins and stuff was very rare. You didn't really see that a lot. Now it's like since the advent of what they call test tube babies, in IVF and vitro fertilization, like all of this hybridization, transhumanism being applied to human births and stuff. All of that picked up around the same time. So we have to say that one is definitely connected to the other. And it is to say that if we don't understand how our own genetics work, then how are we going to start to build on things like, creating, life out of dead life, like the old new activation, and how they want to do stem, they want to activate stem cell research to regenerate dead bodies.
Yeah.
Like this is where they at.
Uh-huh.
Outcast did this song called Synthesizer, and it basically is exactly what they do. They're finding any way to get people to believe that not being human is not enough, or being human isn't enough. Therefore, being born out of an original womb is not enough. Therefore, the original womb of humanity is the so-called original, Asiatic black woman, right? The more biased, then that would also then mean that what she's not enough, right? And so, if now that you have got humanity questioning its origins as to what it is or where it comes from, now you can inject, maybe it's better if we come out of tubes. Maybe it's just better if we come out of pods. You understand?
Yeah.
You understand? Like they can market anything and make anything marketable, and somebody is going to be down with that shit. Because they created a society or a world where nothing that is true is publicly sustainable. So people would rather the fiction than the truth, because with the fiction, at least you can make it into something else. With the truth, that's all it is. It can't be anything else. So, people say they love themselves, but if you're constantly putting things that are artificial on you or in you to enhance what you think is your beauty, then how the so-called white man sees that is, I got this person.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? As soon as you believe that what you are ain't enough, he got you. As soon as you believe that what it is that you're doing, if you're doing your very best, is not enough, he got you. Because as much as you want to be more, and we want to be this, and we want to be, we have to also be honest as to where we are, man. Like, I want to deal with Moors and just pay my debts or whatever, and gold and silver and all that. Like, that's what I should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, if I was to go to wherever, like if I was to go to a bank right now with $100,000 in gold coins, them niggas can't accept that. They can't do nothing with that.
Yeah.
They can't even convert it for me. You know what I'm saying? They can't even convert the real money I'm supposed to use for me. All they could do is give me something inferior.
Yeah, that's wild.
And that's not an exchange. That's not fair exchange. You understand? So what I'm saying is, until we, the proverbial we, get to the point that we're okay with being or doing things for ourselves, then it's never going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could cry and say what I want to do and provide this and that. And I could come and tell the people, hey, if you just send me this, I can do this and that. But in the end, if it's only me doing it, you know what I'm saying? That means it's only going to get to a certain point. The unity is in the numbers. But it's also quality over quantity. You know what I'm saying? Just because niggas is wearing feathers don't mean that they more. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Just because these niggas is wearing berets don't make them Khalid Muhammad. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody, it's like we're in this era where everybody is trying to live off of everybody else's right, and we can't do that. But that has also happened because society, our people have gotten so dumbed down, so apathetic, and so used to not having that they think it's normal. They think it's normal. They think it's normal that we, in 2018, you understand in 1928 to 1913, 1928, Moors owned over 45 million acres property all over the United States. I'm talking about Moorish Americans. In 1928, remember, they came out with the Voting Act for these Negroes that vote in 1965, something like that, right? 56 or 65, one of them. Do you know Moors was getting congressmen elected through electoral block votes in the 20s? Black people, they got a black man, the first black man ever to go into the Senate, got in there because the Moors used their electoral powers to create a block vote instance where they could declare their vote in the Republic as one block and got this black man in at a time when Negroes couldn't even ride the bus.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But Negroes couldn't even drink from water fountains. I got court cases. So not court cases. I got evidence from newspapers where they had arrested this Moorish American to do something. And then when he told them what his nationality was in the paper, they said they not only had to let him go, they had to pay him restitution for the time that they took. This is in the 30s, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is when they mention niggas constantly.
Yeah.
You have people with millions of acreage. So what happened between 28 and 2018? What happened? What happened was a lot of these people were so private that these ones, a lot of them so private that in order to protect what they had to do, they had to distance themselves from the other so-called Negroes and black people that were still calling themselves and answering to these slave labels.
Yeah.
And then the cracker would then use them to go and destroy the Moorish community. He wouldn't even go and do nothing. He wouldn't do it. He would get the Negroes from the other communities to go and get them. And then once they did that, then the cracker would come and then lynch all of the Negroes and then take all of the power. You understand?
Yeah. Yeah, it's making sense. Like, it's still happening.
Ask yourself this, listeners. How did Ida B. Wells know when somebody was getting lynched almost at the same time it was happening? There was no internet, there was no phones, there was no none of that. Who was telling her? Mm-hmm. What kind of carrier pigeon, you know what I'm saying, info was this chick getting? She was getting it because she was down with the NAACP.
Yeah.
She was the founder of it. But that was all founded by Jews, by Caucasian Zionist Jews. Which means, and her, Ida B. Wells, W.E.B. Du Bois, A. Philip Randolph, these people worked with J. Edgar Hoover and other people like that to totally destabilize not only the Moorish American communities, but any potential for blacks to have their own community outside of integration, what they call integration. Ain't no white man did that. Black people did that to each other.
Yeah. Man, that's true. That's true. And we still see things like that occurring to this day, you know?
Yeah.
And I could say, like, in some cases, like in the 30s and 40s, our people came under attack, and that's how the land was taken. But in other cases, it was on us dropping the ball, you know, or losing value. I've seen that in my own family. Yeah, where they like owned a lot of land, and not realizing that power, or and keeping that and holding on to it.
Yeah, and then by the time we get to the hip hop generation, everybody blaming the children. But yo, man, the reason why the children, like sometimes my son, I look at him and he talk to me, and I can tell that there's this underlying frustration with him. It's not anything I'm doing or his mother's doing, but I would say even the environment. Well, it may be the environment. There's a certain thing that I see with these kids nowadays, especially ones who are not self. Like they look at them. Sometimes you look at me like, look, you're supposed to have all this shit stuff already.
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to have certain things already done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I think back on it, kind of stuff like that at sometimes, like, why are you telling me I gotta eat all this food because the children starving in Africa? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, the reason why I don't want to eat this food because the shit you giving me is food that the slaves eat. I don't eat pork. I don't want to eat that. See, so it's like you can't blame the slave master for creating a slave. You're saying your children couldn't get it.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah. And when you were in school, did they do this to you? Where like they piled all this pressure on us about saving the environment, saving all the animals from going extinct, the oceans.
Yeah.
And then we going home. Parents don't even understand. Nobody really cares. We are not able to do anything about it as children. But they telling you, like in elementary school, you know, that everybody needs to be recycling and doing all this stuff.
Yeah, and now the same people that destroy the earth, they now want you and I to reduce our carbon footprint because somehow or another, me walking down the street, smoking a cigarette is worse than this goddamn smokestack. Pumping out, you know, ammonium nitrate every 5 minutes. Like, like I'm not with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not with littering and all that, but I'm not going to take the blame and act like I'm the one that poisoned these people, poisoned society to be like this.
Yeah.
It ain't work like that. I need to do this.
Man, yeah, this is wild. And we have a question from the internet. All right, hang on 1 second. All right, yeah, somebody basically wanted to ask if your process for nationalizing is going to be a part of like the temple structure, or if it's in the works, if the temple's in the works of like, you know, integrating the process that you have like on a larger scale.
Oh, I got you.
Can we even talk about that like online? Or?
You know, a lot of the success and stuff that I've been having has actually been working because I haven't actually completed now. So it's not the first time. Because what it is that there's a lot of people in this beginning to be working to get their own thing popping on this. But I kind of realized early on that one of the told us was the fact that we have been working in somewhat individuals, something that was left for other people. And so, because the MSTFAs went through such a reorganization after the process returned the change of that, I think it created what was called as racism.
Hang on 1 second. I'm sorry, sir. Can you repeat that? Because you're breaking up.
What I was saying was that there was a change up between 1929 and 1938, and everything got reorganized. And once they reorganized everything, after they reorganized everything, they the temple that came out will open back up in 38. So the ones in 38 now, they were now put under for some of the things with this new thing called the 501(c)(3) Act, which we didn't need, but the temple could be grandfathered in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's not to say that it was a negative thing, but those temples did not have to be a part of that to maintain the position that they had at the time. It's just that because a lot of the management had changed, we had an infestation of so-called freedoms and energy in it. They wanted to urge people to become part of, they wanted to get the Moors to be more integrated into the greater society. So they wanted to put them in a position almost like a religious corporation. But the true tenets and the true fight of the temple under the Earth by statutes and all of that, stuff, all of that still exists. There's the original municipality that was established by the prophet that had its own zoning, its own district, its own schools, its own agriculture and all that. That still exists. It's just that the connection to that is through the divine and the national movement, which is the organ of the whole Moorish Empire. But because a lot of Moors didn't understand that, they allow themselves to become domesticated through processes that they initiated after the pandemic, such as naturalization, such as bringing them into the so-called United States fiction side of it by getting them to conform to ideas that really were engendered to them by members who were just members who were coming from other so-called libertarian organizations. Now I'm trying to cloud title the original. So when I say say my process is not really my process. It's just something that I do trial and error over the course of about 15 years. You know what I mean? Going back and forth with these people in court, via mail, you know what I mean? Different channels. And me also going to a lot of these Moors that's out here today, that's out here teaching, out here giving people information. And I'm coming to these dudes in earnest trying to get some sort of understanding and help. And these Moors had no help to give because one, they were trying, some of them was basically a part of the same thing I was trying to get away from. Or they were actually being funded. You know what I'm saying? And I don't just mean like traditional veterinary board. I mean like Asiatic accounts from different groups, different sectors, because it affects all. But the problem is everybody want to be the main one. That everybody goes to get it, so they can lord over everybody. And make themselves stay potentate. You know what I'm saying? Make themselves stay potentate over everybody. Tell everybody this is what it needs to be a more. This is what the prophet would have wanted. And this and that. But none of these ones can actually tell you if the prophet is actually buried where they say he buried him.
Wow.
I got a letter in the investigation that I did on his alleged death. And I got a letter from two different funeral homes. One said they got his body in 1929. And the other one in the other side of the country said they got his body in 1945. So, still niggas can tell me if he definitely is Indian. I don't feel like they tell me anything else about anything else. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But yeah, that's crazy. Instead of bringing stuff like that up, Moors want to bang on each other. Moors want to create reasons why they shouldn't deal with other Moors. This and that. Mm-hmm. All based on doctrine and teaching that we all got from the prophet. Yeah. There's not one more speaking today. You know what I'm saying? There's not one more opening his mouth today that would not be doing that. If the prophet Noah Ali did not walk the earth, specifically here in the jungle and wilderness in North America. Exactly. So they could say what they want, they could act what they want. The Africans even sent an African dude over here to test the prophethood named Sati Masjid or some crazy, some wild African they sent over here to go check the prophet. Yeah. And it got to the point where they came over and he tried to ask him this and why he did this, why he did that, whatever. Just like, nigga, who are you? Yeah. Like, nigga, who are you? Like the same way they do with Arabs now. Yeah. Coming through talking about, oh, well, you don't speak Arabic or less. Well, when you actually read the Quran, and you read these books, you will find that what makes the prophet that the prophet comes to the people in the language that the people speak. Mm-hmm. You will never have a prophet come to a people when people speak in French, the prophet comes to speak in Spanish. You're not going to do that. Because that's not how Allah do things. So the fact that he even sent this nigga over here to test them to do all that, show you how shook they was. But the fact that all the niggas hooked up with the Wahhabis to the Saudi. The Saudi line, the Wahhabi Saudi Jews, Ashkenazi Jews were set up after 1913 and all that. And at the time, the family was jet black. After the Wahhabi dudes from the Saudis came in and started to switch up everything, they're the ones that started to create Islamic fundamentalism. And what the Wahhabis did was he got all of his peoples together, all of his thing, and what he did was he did a campaign. He went all throughout the so-called Africa and parts of the so-called the Middle East, and all the way as far as Morocco, farthest west, and made sure that he married the daughters of all of the chiefs. He paid the chiefs, whether they was in Mali, whether they was in Morocco, whether they was in Tunis, in Algeria, wherever it was Moorish or Muslim or Muslim chiefs. Ghana, whatever, he would marry, or he would pay money to get the dowry for the daughters to marry the daughters. So this way, the Saudis would basically be the ones running all the time. And he did it. Yeah. And they've done that thus far. Remember when Egypt had that big revolution? They call it the Arab Spring. 20 years ago. Everybody thought that Morocco was going to be next. Yeah. Well, the reason why that didn't happen was because the Saudis um, Sheikh the King came and gave King Mohammed, who's like our cousin in the Kingdom of Morocco, king right now. He gave him $184 million.
Mm-hmm.
And so from that point, Saudi Arabia then opened up a trade relationship, or reopened up a trade relationship with Morocco, which then put the king of Morocco, King Mohammed, right, basically in the debt. You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Because he kept him from being overthrown. The Saudi kept him from being overthrown by paying off all the dirty Algerine Arabs that's basically running ISIS and running all these CIA-backed fake Arab state groups. So basically say, look, you pay me the bread, and you don't got to worry about losing your throne.
Yeah.
You'll just be Morocco now be a protectorate under Saudi Arabia. See? Which then what gives this House of Star, right, control over the Hashemite side of the family. Well, remember, we're the Hashemites.
Yeah.
We're the Hashemites, we're the Canaanites, right? We're the Amorites, we're the Hittites, right? We're the Moabites, collectively. Yeah. So, in them getting into the Hagarine side of the family, meaning the Arab side of the Hashemite line, see, this gives them somewhat more legitimacy to maintain control over their little paper faith, like they've been doing. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
Meanwhile, we who are the true possessors of the whole Moorish Empire, we're not even necessarily brought into the conversation because we haven't unified enough to the point where the temple gets reactivated on the international side to be able to accommodate all of this thing to put us back in position. Because people in unit. Those people need to be functioning through their foreign mission. So I have more telling me things like, yo, how can I get my diplomatic passport? Bro, you know anything about diplomacy?
Mm-hmm.
You know anything about international diplomacy?
Uh-huh.
You know anything about statecraft? You know anything about warrants of dispensation and international character? If you know anything, if not, then you would do more harm to yourself with your passport than you just rock away the record. You know
Yeah, exactly.
Because in order for you to have that, you have to have a nation. You have to have people who are confined around the same idea and have all pledged their full faith and credit to whatever governmental structure that you establish. And the only person in Black history, in America, that I know did that was the popular majority. But they can't even deal with what he had.
Yeah.
He said, well, it will take you almost 80 years to build out that. He said, some of y'all, if you're not careful, ain't that the truth? We just forget that. When you found out about Duarte, I didn't find out about Duarte until 94. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
94. I was already 20 years old. Half my life done.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't heard about this man, but I done heard about everybody else. I done heard about Kunta Kinte. I done heard about, you know what I'm saying, Uncle Tom's Cabin. I done heard about all this other shit. Barney, you know, everybody. I done heard about Chicken George, right? They didn't even exist. They told me about them.
Yeah.
Niggas real.
Yeah.
Black history.
Uh-huh.
Niggas not even real.
Wow. Yeah.
But when it comes to the profit, boom. Niggas don't know nothing. Nah, man. It's a concerted effort because the one they don't tell you is the one that you want to deal with. Meanwhile, you see more banging on each other every day on Facebook. Every day going crazy with each other. Meanwhile, there's a whole community that has been there since the late 50s, if not 60s, called the Moorish Orthodox Church.
Mm-hmm. And
these white boys have been out here with pictures, altars to the prophet over John Lee. They got Circle 7 Quran, they got the Red Book, they got everything that you niggas got, they got it and more. They just got passports, the country has more, coming back in, right? Now, one more one Moor has ever, besides me, has ever even mentioned these clowns. Not even mention them. You understand? But these Moors will bang on each other, bang, bang, bang. Right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to these ones, how you banging on them? These Moors and y'all, these folks ain't got shit. Meanwhile, this white man impersonating all of y'all. And ain't nobody stepping in and doing nothing.
Yeah.
And we wonder why we don't have nothing. You wonder why you're not respected. You wonder why they just beat and brutalize our women and children in front of us. Because we're not stepping up as men and saying enough is enough, men. As the old Mexicans say in the Baka Revolution, ya basta. Enough is enough, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like today, for instance, if we're going to talk about real heroes of Black history, today, one of the major heroes of Black history was a boy named Muhammad, and I forget his name, but you'll know his regular name as Barry Davis. They was the day that this nigga went in and put work on the NAA in the NYPD in the Bronx house, cat almost 8 of them. I remember fucking that they brought him out, and he was a hero. He had a gold chain, his white beater, and they finally brought him out. Gold chain, white beater, and a black bubble goose. This was the ultimate hero. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
He put in work today to the point where it scared the NAACP, I keep on the NYPD so much that they didn't even kill him. They was almost amazed that this nigga was actually putting that much work on him. They literally had to bring him out alive.
Yeah.
You understand?
Uh-huh.
Then what happened? He go to prison, and then he converts to Islam. It's over. He's a hero. He's a national hero.
Uh-huh.
You understand?
Word.
But again, we'll never hear about that. Because Negroes only pay attention to what they think is going to get their money.
Word. And shout out to Hunger in the chat. He said the Moorish Orthodox Church created the Libertarian Party.
Thank you, Mo.
Yeah. And the sovereign he said the sovereign citizen movement came out of the Libertarian Book Club.
Came out of that. That's right. The Libertarians came out of the Moorish Orthodox Church. The Moorish Orthodox Church came out of Scottish Rite. And that, the OPO, as well as Scottish Rite. They all are all their freedom.
Uh-huh.
And remember the Libertarian Party and the Liberal Party. When we say liberal, right? That term actually was coined by a guy named Alvin Sally. Alvin Sally was the victim paralyzed, for MI5.
Oh, brother, you're breaking up really bad right now. We can't hear you.
How about now?
It's still it's still bad.
I'm better?
Okay, yeah, that's much better.
Hello?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
So yeah, Aleister Crowley, what we call the liberal system, came out of the Liber Al, Liber space AL, the Liber Al, right? And the Liber Al was a book written by Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley was also referred to as was also known as the Great Beast, so they call him Agent 666. He's the father of Barbara Bush by a woman named Harris, who was married to the white man who started McCall's catalog, the Harris family. Okay. Anyway, they had a grandson named Thomas Harris, and he's the guy who wrote the Silence of the Lambs and all that shit. See what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm showing you how the satanic thing is always within a line, right? So, Crowley used the liberal system to build what he called the Book of the Law, which is basically which is like the precursor to this Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible, and all of that is run through what's called the Lucis or the Lucifer Trust, that was set up by H.P. Blavatsky, Anna Besant, and a couple of other people back in the day. All of that was converged into the Western white supremacist ideology through a guy named Albert Pike and a black man named Thornton Jackson. when they created the morals and dogma and put all of these different so-called black orders and white so-called orders all officially under Lucifer. So this don't mean that every black Mason or every Mason that you know is worshiping the devil. But it is to say that regardless to what station they're in, all of these lodges, whether they are real or whatever, they all are serving the Lucifer trust. That's just what it is. You understand? Mm-hmm. So I say all of that to say, if you want to get more books, more info on the Crowley thing, connects to the more Orthodox Church, with this book called Agent 666. You can get another book called another one. How Britain infiltrated, how the British monarchy infiltrated Freemasonry. There's a lot of books on this stuff. So I'm saying all of that to say that when the prophet came, he deaded all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like all of that was dead now. Because all of that Freemasonry stuff and all that stuff started after really the part we understand it really that they're dealing with now started in late 1700s. So really it was all brought together to conceal the energy that the Moorish Empire had that was now being disseminated into different so-called countries that are now being reorganized to accommodate this new, as you say, libertarian, right, worldview. This amalgamated empire with dirty Moors and amalgamated Moors basically put all the dark skin and the other Moors at the back burner and basically enslaved humanity. All humanity basically went to sleep or ended. The spiritual connection, the spiritual raising of the planet was put on the back burner in 1492. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, the world was going in a whole different direction. And we had running toilets. We had gold streets. Understand?
Yeah.
like real massive earthen works.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Niggas had planes. We had all types of stuff. But they make you think before this white man, nothing technologically advanced existed. But they just found a nuclear reactor in Africa that's over 1 million years old.
Wow.
You understand?
Yeah.
So you could find me a nuclear reactor years ago, but you can't show me a slave ship from 250 years ago. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying, Mo. They'll show you a dinosaur bone, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But you don't got one picture of one ancestor in all of the years that you've been alive with a damn chain on their neck.
It's just like they lose all that history, like showing all the treaties and things going back and forth, all the Europeans getting enslaved, you know, while they tell us the transatlantic slave trade going on, but they don't talk about any of that.
More. They don't talk about more because, and the thing is, the blacks that have been here all these years talking to us, giving us history, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of great men and women. My problem is, you mean to tell me, out of all of those geniuses that they showed us all them years and all them years, you mean to tell me not one of them knew that the map that they was giving this geography to us from was upside down?
Word.
Come on,
yeah.
More. Come on, More.
Come
on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man. How you know this, but you don't know that? And the shit that you got from this part came out the same book. Come on, man.
Word.
Come on, man. All I'm saying is let's be real. Let's not be more than we are, and let's not be less than we are. Let's be what we are. And stop trying to graft on or blame people and do this and that. Let's keep it real with ourselves.
Islam is time.
All we need is one generation that only gives a damn about themselves. Like we need one. I don't mean narcissistically either. I mean like one generation that's solely about self. Like all of this. This is about us and what we're gonna do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And these children today, a lot of them is on that.
Yeah, it's time. That's what's up. We got listeners from Panama too.
Islam.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Panama.
So yeah, somebody just asked like if you could give a book list.
Yeah.
I think they were talking about in general, like they're new to this information.
Like in general. You definitely want to start with a Circle 7. The first 3 joints I would get would be a Law Dictionary, a Bouvier's or a Black's, anywhere between the 1st and the 4th edition. And then if you get something after that, either the 6th or the 7th, then so it's the Law Dictionaries, old Law Dictionaries, the Circle 7 Quran, definitely. Golden Age of the Moor. Like if you just starting, definitely get that. Sex and Race, Volume 1 and 3, of course. Definitely Golden Trade of the Moors, the story of the Moors in Spain, the story of the Moors after Spain. What else? Diplomatic relations to the United States and the Barbary powers. Origins of Humankind by Churchward. Anacalypsis, volumes 1 and 2. Ancient and Modern Britons, of course. Volume 1 and 2. Anything McRitchie did. Primitive Black Nations. Get that. That's a great one. I forget the name of the book, but the author's name was Count Valmy. He wrote a good book on the Moors, on ancient peoples. What else? Sacred Drift. Consecrated Talismans, definitely. Big up Prince Uriel Bey. Rest in power. Volumes 1 to 3. Any books by Prince Uriel Bey, anything you can get by him, definitely do that. Return to the Ancient Ones. Big up and respect to the Empress Berenice, the Washita. They dug the Moundia. Respect to her for great work. It was like the prophet. Then she came and dropped it heavy. Then people like Uriel came, dropped it, and then there was people in between that took elements of that, but didn't, like, in my opinion, go all the way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like what happened with like the York thing, certain people. Because the thing is, a lot of these people all had connections to the MSPFA. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I said, how could Moors be electing people, and people actually, a black man at a time when all blacks was little more than paper to these crackers, and get this man to be the first black senator in history in the United States, when all the rest of the niggas is basically can't even read, not even living above the poverty line. Moors had whole towns, whole cities to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm trying to say, and it's documented. It's not like this is like far-fetched. Like you can't even, like, you could do a little digging on it and just find a whole trough of stuff. And
Word.
The same stance that we take it today, they was taking back then. So it shows us that we, like this, you talk about different conspiracy theories. There's a conspiracy called the Phantom Time sequence, basically stating that all of us is basically still in the 1400s.
Mm-hmm.
That they created some sort of time matrix through the Vatican, through the temporal power of the Vatican, and they created this or whatever. Now, I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying that when it comes to the distorting and taking 580 years from a people's history and then expecting them to go about their day and live life regular, like they feel like they just like everybody else, that's crazy. Like right now, if I was to take you right now, or take any one of your listeners right now, and I was to make you forget everything about yourself from the time you was born up until right now, and you go to sleep or wake up, and then try to live your life regular, you see how far you get. How hard it is for you to do that.
Yeah.
Now imagine I do that now for the past 580 years.
Yeah, that's
you know
crazy.
So nobody has had that done to them. Even the Africans, as much as they've been through whatever, at least they gave them niggas their countries when they left.
Yeah.
But they made sure when they left that everyone those countries was married to a white woman. So you tell me.
Yeah,
as great as Kwame Nkrumah was, one of the great shining black princes, heroes and stuff, he still married to a white girl. General Kenyatta of the Mau Mau, these niggas were cutting British men's heads off.
Yeah.
Cutting their penises off, putting them in their ears. This nigga was married to a white girl.
Neutralized.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it gets to a point where, but we also, to flip the other side of that though, on the other side of that though, back then, those men, based on how they was raised and how they came up, they looked at that as a revolutionary act.
Mm-hmm.
There's a book called Black Bolsheviks you can get. I talked about how they turn all the black people, like the way black people live today, we basically live like communists.
Yeah.
We have a community-based mentality, but that community-based mentality is all based on socialism. But socialism and Marxism and capitalism and all these different isms, all of that stuff came out of what Adam Smith put down. If we really want to lay the blame on somebody, it all goes back to a guy named Adam Smith, aka Adam Weishaupt, who wrote the book Wealth of Nations. That was basically how they was going to appropriate and rip the wealth from all the original governments and the original empires from that point on. So by the time Marx and Darwin and these people came, they were creating more justifications as to this new classification that they were building on since 1681. All of this white-black stuff really started with the Bacon's Rebellion. When Bacon, who was a Moor, was free, started to resent the fact that they was trying to, the British colony was basically a slave of so many white people and so many Moors in a forced indenture that they wasn't giving them no real adequate means of sustainability. So whereas the Indians, though, they had a straight main line. So what he decided to do was go against the Indians, knock them out of position first, and then he rallied the poor whites and the poor blacks together. And then the remnants of them and the so-called displaced Indians all banged on the colonists. And so they decided after that, they lost so much money and so many people, they said, well, what we got to do is split up the blacks and the whites. So what we'll do is we'll start to use the term white to describe a certain status and give the white people, if we give everybody 3 pieces of rice, we'll give the one that's white 4 pieces.
Uh-huh.
So he'll think he's better than the black man with the 3 pieces. And then we'll create laws to only allow to stop Moors from buying white women, right?
Uh-huh.
Thereby keeping us in subjugation and make it where only people that can create white people is white people, i.e. Caucasoid males.
Word.
And so they started making laws where Moors couldn't own Christians, whether they was free or not. They couldn't own white males. They couldn't marry white women, you see. And then they started to flip the jurisdictional stuff in terms of marginalizing them. Now that they created the term white, they then start to employ the term black. And this is when they start by 1700, 1705. Queen Anne puts out something that says all free so-called Negroes, all free blacks, all so-called mulattoes or whatever, all of them to be listed as real estate. This is 1705. Now remember, this is after the Cesare Trust in 1656. So 1656, 1654, I believe it's 1654, Anthony Johnson takes the whole Moors to court to own a Moor. Then that's 16, he wins. Now we're going to start to now enslave blacks. You understand? So this way, by the time 1666 come around now the Rome enforces the Cesare Trust that says if you can make these niggas forget who they are beyond 5 years or 7 years, anything they own you can take. Boom, that's 1666. So now by 1681, the rebellion goes down. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're not feeling none of that. So then by 1690 or whatever, they start implementing the laws, putting in that. So then by 1705, we get Queen Anne's decree, right?
Uh-huh.
Over there that they can list Moors or Indians or whatever as property, as individual real estate, right? Then by 1717, we start getting the black codes, right?
Uh-huh.
Then boom, by 17, see what I'm saying? It's all symbolically moving along. But it all started with an internal fight between us. And then they just came up by the time we realize what's going on, we can't trust each other. So we start using them, picking and choosing them, free and accepting them, giving them symbols and signs to trust them. Then my ex-slave get with your ex-slave.
Mm-hmm.
They set up some sort of fight. We wind up killing each other. We're their knights, right? They're squires. So now we get to hold the kingdom. They get to hold the kingdom for us, you see?
Yeah.
Then he marries another Caucasian serf slave. Boom. Now they have a baby. Now the line is right from this point on.
Mm-hmm.
Then when there's enough of them together like that, they then get together and then get behind a nigga named, get behind the whole thing and then push now for the global situation through the colonial situation. And now white, which is a status, is now applied to people through their skin color.
Mm-hmm. There you have it, people. That's how it happened. And they've been doing it since they first got over here, you know? Just as soon as they got here, somebody in the chat asked if the pre-Columbian people here were Moors, if this is ancient Almarak. And it's like, as soon as they got over here, like there's a book that I was just holding up, like you didn't see it, Aseer. It was like a handbook from Jack D. Forbes. And he's got a, tale of this British captain. He comes over here early 1700s. I forgot where he went in the Caribbean, but as soon as he gets there, he starts calling the Black Caribs Negroes. And they outnumber everybody. And he's calling them Negroes and saying that they're coming from Africa. And even in his own memoirs, he's saying that they are upholding the customs. They're speaking the language and everything. So even off of that, you know what I'm saying? They're the indigenous people. So it's like, it was. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Really more on top of it, what you're saying, to add on what you're saying, it also fell based on pride and hubris, which is false pride. Because Grenada didn't fall, it was sold. Like it was literally sold to Isabella, who got money through the Medicis by way of the Borgias to pay for it. So in 1491, she buys it from the dirty Moor Ezagam Abdullah El, who is really running the kingdom, but the puppet of the face is this guy Europeans refer to as Bawakil. And he was the sissy prince that basically grew up in so much luxury, he never really fought for nothing. So by the time it was sold, El Zagab didn't tell nobody he did that. So by the time the so-called Romans, because they weren't Spanish at this time, Spain did not exist until 1497.
Wow.
So when they tell you that the Moors rolled up into Spain, like, that's not true.
It was still Al-Andalus. Yeah.
It was all wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because they took it from the Visigoths and the Ostrogoths. Those were Latin-speaking Romans. Latin-speaking wild Germanic Romans, who were ruled over by an amalgamated Moorish class. And so they, after he sold it in 1491, they came to foreclose in 1492. You see what I'm saying? So that way, by the mid-1492, when they come over here now, they take the same deal to now bring it to my uncle Zuma, right? Who is another dirty Moor, who's kind of like El Zagab, but the opposite. Now, he decides, well, he's reigning in power with the people anyway. So what he do is he hooked up Cortez and said, look, you act like Quetzalcoatl, and then you ordain me as the god, and then I'll put out the decree to let you stay here, and then they'll have to kind of worship you like that.
Yeah.
And then Cortez was like, word, and then flipped it on him. Once he acknowledged them as that, then he kidnapped them. You see? And then the people, the rest is history. So again, here's two Moors who own two vast empires, right? Around the same period, a little after, because Montezuma was a little after that, but it was the same type of deal, where you have this one guy who has so much power and takes it so much for granted that in him signing an aspect of his kingdom for to keep his little power going, he winds up selling the whole people out.
Yeah. The
entire race of the people. So, yes, there were people here before the Olmecs. They found another people they called the Corrala or Corrala Supe. These people, when you look at them, all the pyramids in Peru and all of that, and the aqueducts and the amphitheaters, and all that we done built out there. If I was to show you a picture of it and didn't tell you, you would think you was looking and you was in Egypt.
Wow.
Because you was just in it over here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And these people, when you see the stone released to them, they all wearing feathers, they all wearing turbans, which then means then that the feathers and turban did not start over there, started over here. Because then that was seen as the symbol of liberty or ancient rulership from that point on, which was then carried over by people called the Phrygians, Thygrians, which was also carried over by people before them. They referred to as the Fomorians, who they say come from the ancient West or the ancient lands of Atlantis. And they wound up becoming a part of what we call the Peloponnesian dynasties, which led to the Phoenician expansion, which led to the Canaanites, the people they refer to as the Canaanites, who, if we bring them into the tribe of Israel, go under the tribe of Dan, who were the seafarers. And they led to, again, the people we today would call Phoenicians, who also led to the Carthaginians, right? Hannibal and them, which then led to Rome, right? Which then led back to Carthage, revisited now as Moors, you see, in the future. So it's not like we went up into Spain the first time. No, we've always been there. What they have done is that when they make you feel that all melanated people come from Africa, they got you thinking that anybody that looks Chinese comes from China. Anybody that looks black comes from Africa. Anybody that looks white comes from Europe. Yeah. Anybody that looks so-called brown or dark brown or speaks Spanish is Spanish, when it's the exact opposite. Like the original document that she signed with Ezegah, the agreement to do this, at the time, the language of the Spanish court, the court of Aragon and Castile, the language of that court was French.
Wow.
So they didn't become Spanish until after the voyage over here. So when they came over here and saw the Moorish Empire over here, they don't already depose those Moors from where they came from. So now they want to come here and act like these are totally different people. You understand? Because customarily some of them are, but really they not. But if we deny them over here, we can't come over here and then accept them. You see, we got to get them to conform to the same thing that we flipped over here. And that's what they did. And then you had a whole group of Moors who decided they was going to create their own way out of it and create their own country. And this is where we get Portugal from. You know what I'm saying? And then the Portuguese wound up moving to Brazil. And Emperor Adolphus moved the capital of Portugal, moved it to Brazil, right?
Word.
But look what's happening today. The Brazil government actually goes to dark-skinned black people, and when they do want to name their baby an African name, the government tell them you can't name the baby that. You got to give a European name.
Yeah, that's
the government of Brazil just imported a whole bunch of white male sperm from Europe. So that way they can seed up all the black people, because the new president there is worse than Trump. He's like the Brazilian Trump. So he want to kill all of the black people and let the race of the so-called mulata continue. But all of those mulattoes, half of them is men, because they get the sex changes up there. The government pay for all of that. So that's part of the tourism industry. You understand?
Yeah.
So now when the CDC puts out that there's a whole new strain of gonorrhea out, there's a whole new strain of chlamydia out that ain't like the old chlamydia is harping on the stuff. Where do you think all this stuff coming from? Somebody sent something on Facebook where these white men having sex with pigs, ejaculating into the pigs. Wow. And at the pig farm. So what happened? So look what happened. These white men, they rape these pigs, ejaculate pigs. Then it's not like they kill those pigs. Yeah. No, they sell those pigs, right? So now the pig got human sperm in them, and then they dissect them, right? Sell them to you, right? Now you're eating a pig with human semen in it, right? As well as the trichina worm, as well as all the poison he was eating prior to being made a pork chop. Yeah. Now you're eating that, and you wonder why you're blacking out, or you're having dietary issues, or you're full of parasites, or this is if you don't have your own nationality that says, or your own customs that say, well, I don't eat pig, so I don't give a damn how many pigs they have sex with. You know what I'm saying? That would never affect me. Why? Because I have a nationality and a customary value system and a moral system that keeps me from that. You see?
Right.
And all of us used to be like that. But once you take away people's true understanding of who they are and their true nationality, they make you think in order to be Islamic, you got to speak Arabic. Like that's some sort of badge. Like there's somewhere in the Quran that says in order for you to be a Muslim, you got to speak Arabic. When at the time, them niggas wasn't even speaking Arabic.
Yeah.
How about that? Half of them niggas were speaking Ge'ez because the Prophet's father was a nobleman from the Abyssinian Empire, which means he was a Coptic. He was a Christian who wore a fez and a turban and basically said salam and assalamu alaikum and all that. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When the Moors was ruling, you couldn't tell the difference between the Muslim, the Christian, and the Hebrew. That's how peaceful we had it.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell the difference between each one because all of them was in peace. And all of them was dealt with equality. That is until the Moors started to fall from their noble nature. They started to get caught up in the artifice instead of their deeds.
Facts. And people in the chat are talking about the depopulation plan. Somebody also asked if you think that claiming your nationality is, like one of the remedies, to help, like to I guess to get you out of that.
Yeah, it's the first step. When you see black people refer to Donald Trump as their president or Obama as my president, or when they talking about how the United States bombed stuff, they say, oh, well, yeah, but we went over there and did that.
Mm-hmm.
And we hear black people talk like that.
Yeah.
And they're not well mentally. Because when white people get in government, they go totally for self. They go into government and make legislation and law for whoever put them in the office. Not the office itself, who put them in the office. So, by all accounts, as soon as Obama got in there, he should have been working and doing everything he could have done for black people, regardless of what white people would have said. And Trump give a damn what black people think? And he's still doing what he's doing?
Yep.
But he didn't, because black people didn't get Obama. Black people think they did. Our spiritual energy opened up the portal for that to happen. But the people who put him in the office was the electors, the 219 people who paid for the votes.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's how all government is run in the United States since 1933, because it has to do that based on the bankruptcy. Now, if you want to have a thing for the Republic president, that's different. See what I'm saying? So, whenever I or somebody in the know speaks about Trump or speaks like that, you got to speak about it from the perspective of their government. Understand? Because the same way the policies of whatever the French prime minister is doing for the French people does not affect you directly, in the same way this guy's policies don't affect you directly. In terms of your individual life and the individual life of the people, I like it. Cool. Hey, buddy, I like it. In terms of the individuality of the people, he's their president. He's the president. It doesn't affect. Like, name something in terms of his actual policy that has stopped you from getting money or walking out or doing whatever you got to do right
now. Word.
Nothing.
Nope.
Name one thing that you're doing right now that you couldn't do before this nigga became so-called president.
Yeah, nothing.
Now, by the same token, name something that you couldn't do when Obama got in. None.
Right.
Okay.
Same.
Name something that you couldn't do when Bush got in. That you're doing right now that you couldn't do when Bush got in.
Same thing. Yep.
Little Bush.
Yeah.
Okay. Go back further. When Clinton was now that he's stopping you from doing?
Word.
Let's go back. Reagan.
Yeah.
Right? Name something that you was doing then that you would have got in trouble for, whatever, that you couldn't do now to get money. Nothing. Nothing. So we went through, what, 5 presidents, and ain't nothing changed for you directly that stopped you from getting money. So what are you talking about? What are these niggas talking about? That proves that whatever they're doing does not affect you directly, so long as you don't inject yourself into shit that has nothing to do with you. Excuse my language. That has nothing to do with you.
Right.
We keep injecting our nose in places we don't need to be, man. Look, people get mad. A black man will go to a Korean store to get a job. Korean man give him a job, don't pay him nothing. A Korean come in there to the Korean man to get a job. The Korean man give him, the Korean dude the job. He give him a little more than the black man. Don't tell the black man. Korean man, black man working at the same time. A Korean man gonna move up faster. Why?
Yeah, because he's looking out for his own. Yep.
Right.
That's what you're supposed to do, though. Yeah.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong is that the black man feels that he should have an equal state in it. But you don't have an equal state if you can't go to a black man's store and get a job with the black man.
Yeah.
And he hire you and then hire a white man and pay you a little more than the white man. No, what he'll do is he'll bring you in there and then pay the white man, treat the white man a little better, treat you a little worse. Because he don't want the white man that worked for him to feel like he giving you preferential treatment. But if the shit was reversed, the white man would always show you him preferential treatment over you.
Exactly. Yeah.
So as much as it's about racism, as much as it's not so much about racism more than it's about what they perceive race is. We know there's only 2 races on the planet. It's us and everybody else.
Yeah.
We know that. But they believe that there's all these different people. Like, most people believe that numbers like 1 trillion exist or quadrillion exist. There's no number higher than 9. Every number after 9 is a variation of the ones that came before that. So therefore, everything else technically is a fiction that is given life based upon how deep we go into it. You understand?
Exactly.
So take that now as an allegory for why we are all in the position we're in, because everybody is trying to say that their way is the best way to do it. I don't. If we want to be honest, I know what I know because I went out and did it, and I help people do it. But I'm not going to say that this is the only way. And I'm not going to even claim it like it's mine because it was here before I got here. But what I bring to it is a certain clarity in terms of the protocol aspect that allows things to happen in a manner that's less defensive and more offensive. I like that one. I like this one too. That's my son. Amor said peace, y'all.
Oh, peace. Peace to your son.
So, you know, that's what I'm saying. In the long term, it's what we give the energy to is what make it real. It used to be we would watch DVDs and lectures and really be educated as to what's going on with ourselves, our bodies, our spirituality, our minds, God, whatever, what the white man's trying to do to us, how we could prepare. Now niggas just tune in to see who's banging on who. How did that happen?
Yeah.
And all of that happened when Obama came into office. Is that a coincidence? No. And niggas can't say they didn't know because I did tapes like Welcome to Obamatopia. I did The Truth About Barry. I did a bunch of little joints before he got in, letting niggas know this was what they was going to do.
Word.
But we must always remember that the prophets, right? Especially people like Noble Ali, they're never accepted by their own. They're never accepted, but they be accepted by strangers quicker than their family.
Yeah.
Because the nature that we've been programmed to do is to hate ourselves and to hate any truth coming from us. Only reason why people started dealing with the Nation of Islam heavy, also was because Far was white. So if a white man is telling me I'm God, then it must be true.
Yeah.
And Fuad knew that.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? Same way Eminem knew that he could really get more people into real rap by bringing up real rappers on his platform.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He didn't have to do that.
Uh-huh.
He didn't have to. He would tell you from the door, from the first album. I'm not an Eminem fan, but what I will say is, for Libra, he kept it really good.
Mm-hmm.
More than these other ones. These other ones act like they invented this shit.
Yeah.
Yo, I just saw a video from these two 70-year-old white rappers from London.
Yeah.
Pete and Bosh. They're gonna have to step their game up. They joined bang.
Yeah.
They joined
Yeah,
bang,
I saw
man.
that.
And it was crazy because I'm looking at these dudes like, look at these old white Shriner Freemasons, Scottish Freemasons,
Uh-huh.
going heavy on the lyrics. Like,
Yeah.
I understand what they talking about more than Young Thug and these niggas.
Yeah. Yeah, with the mumbling. Man, it's crazy. That's wild. Yeah, we have another question. Somebody was asking if you could tell the difference between Muslim and Muslim, and if you could give reference points like for research. Is there even a difference?
I've been researching it for a while, and what I found is that Muslims, the word Muslim, predates everything that we read in with Muslim is books that's being reprinted to us after the 1800s. But when you look at the older books, even when you go to certain Saudi Arabian countries, Arabian countries, they refer to themselves as Muslims still. You know what I'm saying? So the difference to me comes in where you find, the origin. So in the old, what they call pre-Turkic, it was Mosalem, right? Moselem, right? Moselem. Then you had, in ancient so-called Egypt, you had a group of people who would actually make salat, like all the stuff they do in the Islamic religion, and they refer to as mesren, M-E-S-R-E-N. Really, if you take the vowels out, then it would be M-S-R-M, mesren, right? So after, the white man gets into it, like at one time in Islam, they had pictures and all of that, like a lot of the old plays and a lot of the old stuff, especially in Yemen, places like this under attack now. You have a lot of the old iconography of Muhammad and the Moors and all that, and they all jet black. But it wasn't until this white convert in the 1800s named Arthur Weisserman, I believe, converted, and because he was a supremacist, he became the guy to translate a lot of the stuff into American and European books, and then was basically putting in translations like, there's no images, no graven images in Islam and all this other type of stuff. And then that was again backed up by the white-tailed Arabs, the Hagarenes. So the thing about being a Muslim is that as a Muslim, you relate to all the ancient prophets. You give honor to all of them. So what that means is that you come from the people who, at the time these people existed, were a part of those societies as a priesthood. Understand? Because more in the Comesian, in the Wallace Budge translation at least, when you look at the glyph, it translates to a high priest of Anu. So after you study 35, 50 years, 45 years, which coincidentally is the same amount of years you need to become like a sultan or a king or emperor or whatever, you then would be known as a Moor. And so not only are Moors Muslims, but Hindus are Muslims, Buddhists are considered Muslims, you understand? Moors, Hindus, Persians, like Iranians, they're considered Muslims as well. Whereas Muslims and some African countries like Mali, they consider themselves, they're called Muslims or whatever. But the countries that are more Arabized post 1900 identify more with the U sound in it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so what this time we're in now tries to do is make them interchangeable. Whenever somebody tries to make a word interchangeable with another word, they're trying to, what they say, alter the course of natural grammar, which means that it's what's called an anathema. It's not something that is naturally in the occurrence. So if there's a word called Muslim and a word called Muslim, see what I'm saying? Then the fact that they're definitive, same way you have Muhammad and then you have Mohammed, right? You have the Mohammedan nation and then you have Mohammed, right? You have the O and the U. So those two vowels, I think, represent the difference between, let's say, the Saracen side of Islam, which predates Islam, right, concerning us, and then the Hagarenes side of Islam that comes in with the Arab, side of things that are more draconian and fundamentalist in origin. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, reference points, I would do literal comparison in finding old books on Islam. I'll talk about old 1700, 1800 type books about Moors, Muslims, things like that, and look at the writing, the text, and the difference between how the European writers refer to it as opposed to what they call the free thinking press did with it. Because most of the stuff written by Budge and stuff, he refers to them as Muslims. But moving up now to the late 18th, 19th, 20th century, becomes more Muslim. I would say up into the 80s, heavy, it was Muslim on TV with the Iran thing. And then once they switched phase into going into Iraq, you see, it became more of a Sunni thing, so it became more of a Muslim thing.
Yeah.
You understand? When they were so really depending on who they're dealing with. If they're dealing with pre-Islamic peoples who adopted Islam or who created the Islam and couched the real science in it, inside of it, that would be the Sadducees, or those of us who descend allegedly from Sarah, the first wife of the patriarch.
Yeah.
And then those who came later would then deal with the opposite. If we're dealing, because then there's etymology with it and all of that too. But to save time, I would say in comparative literature, whenever they refer to as Muslims, this is when they're getting into Mohammedan nations and they're dealing with, the old stuff. When they're getting into the new, revamped, all Muslims started, Muhammad was a pale Arab thing. We got to be Muslims, especially if you're dealing with the Sunni.
All right.
All these Moors dyeing their beard, going to the store, getting, dyeing their beards and stuff, like to look like some wild Arab who, they practice consanguinity in their culture. So insanity is a natural part of their physiological makeup. The apoptosis gene in them is whittled down to the point where they will strap a bomb to themselves and blow themselves up. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because when you interbreed, when you marry your third cousin every generation, you understand?
Yeah.
You're gonna get serious mental defects and physiological anomalies that are apparent and have to literally be bred out. That's why they would practice infanticide and kill off whole of their families because they were so insane. You understand? And you gotta understand, it's not just the men. The women are having the babies for these men. The women are actively participating in that. So it's not so. Yes, they're oppressed, but
they're cool with it.
There is a certain aspect of it where they still letting it go down because they still having these niggas babies.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yeah,
so,
it's just like the craziness going on. Yeah, with us.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
We co-signing on it.
Yeah, we're caught up into the whole, like, we didn't come from a culture where we were molesting each other of homosexuality. That was not the predominant aspect of our culture. That's not to say that there weren't people within the culture that was on that, but there were sections that was dealt with that.
Yeah.
The whole eunuch side of things, the whole haramage system. Like, there was practical ways. So there's a book called The Myth of the Granadan Paradise. This white man who wrote this book about how whack the Moors in Granada was and how it was and all that. But you want to read different viewpoints of it, especially from different people, because most of these people are writing these books. When you see PhDs and letters after their name, that means they're all Freemasons.
Yeah.
So you got to understand that they're all a part of the literary academic system that was established by LSU, Yale, and the rest of these niggas to keep all of y'all, white, black, Puerto Rican, whatever you want to call it, all of y'all inundated with mindless minutia that would allow them to bring the kindergarten system over here, and has applied it to the point now where teachers are openly having sex with students in school, having their babies, going back to other schools and doing it again. So the fact that you're even sending your children back to these schools, you understand? The fact that you're even still being like, okay, they shot the school up, but I ain't got nowhere else to send them, so I guess I got to send it back. Like, you are playing Russian roulette with your future. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have not taken the responsibility. When I say we, I mean the black man and the so-called black woman. They have not collectively worked together. This is how hypocritical things are. There was a black girl who was being bullied and all of this in school for being black, and they was calling a nigga and doing all types of wild stuff to the point where she was talking about dropping out of school. She finally calls the NAACP, gets the NAACP involved, and then they go with that for her. They basically wound up getting her back to school, getting her 67,000 off the whole rip. Like, really made it an issue. Got her in school, did all of that.
Yeah.
This same girl now is on TV telling everybody how whack the NAACP is, how whack it is, using racial politics and all of this, and black people got to stand up and stop using race and all that. That woman is Candace Owens.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? This is who niggas is backing. The same person. Yeah. Now, I'm not big enough the NAACP. You know what I'm saying? I think, of course, it was always an op organization, and they did a lot of harm to black people, but they also helped a lot of black people, because they got to do that in order to justify their existence. So just because the rapist admits the rape, it doesn't make him a better rapist.
Yeah.
He's a rapist. You understand what I'm saying? Period. So let's stop making these people heroes for shit they're supposed to do. And when you or I or black people then say, okay, Democrats are evil, so what now? We're going to be Republicans? Like, with who? With Kavanaugh and with Trump and with this one and these people? Like, you bugging. Like, the Republicans, it's not like all the lynchings, the only people hanging people was Democrats. You understand? It was a unilateral, it was a House joint resolution to hang people. You understand what I'm saying? It was a unified society of bipartisan means to hang and burn and mimic and maim and rape so-called black people generationally. It crossed party lines. It wasn't something that they had to vote on. They would have problems with, okay, how are we going to do the parking ticket, or where we going to put the stop sign? But when it comes to, you going to hang this nigga? Okay, let's do it at 5.
Yeah.
What we doing, we're going to shut that down, go hang them at 5, and then come back and deliberate on where to put the traffic sign in the town square. This is the level of civilized barbarity we've been dealing with for the past 243 years. So I don't know what these niggas are talking about. Yeah, the Democratic Party was started by Jefferson, and Jefferson was a wild, crazy mulatto enslaved his own children and did experiments, raped them and ate them and stuff. But hey, that's what they all did. Why y'all acting like this to him? They all, in order for you to be the administrative, in order for you to be in the administrative office of the presidency of the United States of America, you have to be a sociopath. Yeah. You have to be sociopathic to occupy that seat. You have to. They're not going to let somebody with morals in that seat. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? I just watched a movie the other night about Nixon and them. And it turns out that everybody was talking about how great Kennedy was. He was trying to get niggas out the war. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. This war was going on from before him. He was just in there to carry it on and wanted to get rid of the CIA because he knew the only way to stop the war was to get rid of the CIA. So the CIA got rid of him with the help of the mob, you understand? Because they had already been burnt from him crossing Frank Sinatra. Because Frank Sinatra brought him in, met Giancana and everybody, and went to all, and then Quincy would then bring them to the Peregrine Mansion. They do the orgies and do everything there. And then because Joe, who was Jack, meaning John Kennedy's father, was already in the bootlegging game from back in the days and had given money to Prescott and them to pay for what was the Nazi Party. Okay? He felt that John, once he became president, was going to look out for the mob. But once he got in presidency, he deaded all communication with Sinatra. He stopped going to the orgies. He stopped going to the party. He stopped going to the coke rituals. He started having the hoes sent in. That's when they built the underground tunnels in the White House to bring the whores. Marilyn Monroe and Jean Dietrich and all of them, Marlene Dietrich and Eartha Kitt and all of these ones that he used to sleep with. You understand? So he crossed them. So that was a problem. So once he said he was going to break up the CIA into 1,000 pieces, that was it. So the same money that Joe and them had paid or whatever, and that it was already crossed with his father and all of that, they had to make it happen. So the rest is history. Caught two in the head, and then they made his wife stand there with the blood all over her shirt and face as Lyndon Johnson was sworn in. And then when you see the next frame, there's two frames. One where she's there in shock with him being with the blood all over her face and the clothes, and he's being sworn in. Then the next picture, you see them all smiling, and then his secretary of defense gives him a wink, and she's just there distraught. Wow! Like that's the level of the game we're playing with. Yeah. These black people think that when they fall into the arms of these so-called Caucasians and these so-called black, these white crackers and these saltine crackers and these graham crackers, they think that when they get into them and they get with them, that it's all good. And then one day you go to Mark Twain Park, Kim Porter, bless the dead, and that's the last time they see you. Wow. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, this is how they do you. They coming out with all types of mythos on her now. She was the one who inspired, what's his name, to write Forever My Lady. I'll be sure to write Forever My Lady when she was pregnant with little Quincy. Wow. Then they saying that she was also the inspiration for not Love and Basketball, but this other movie that had this dude basketball player and a ballerina or some shit. Saying she was the inspiration, all of that. She go missing on the 13th. They don't find her till the 15th. They don't find her till the 14th. Then they announce her heavy on the 15th. But the 15th, then was a heavy day because it's the last month of the ritual season. July, August, September, October, November. This is the Jason month. So this is the last one. They got to get the last ones in. So they got her, Wade Clark from Hee Haw, and somebody else.
Where somebody just said save the last dance. Man, that's wild.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly, more. And that came out on the anniversary of a book called In Cold Blood that was written by Truman Capote, another one of them niggas. And that book was all about this dude who allegedly murdered these people, but actuality, it might have been an organization that did it and framed him for it. Wow. You see what I'm saying? They do all of that.
Yeah.
She was 40. She was 46, but they saying she was 47. She don't turn 46 till the 6th of December. But they needed it to be 47 because on that day it was 47 days left in the year.
Wow.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, no
Like these
coincidence.
niggas got everything working by the numbers, and we just catching up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we don't believe it.
Yeah.
There's still something in us that still believe that this nigga got our best interest in mind, and he's doing everything to show you that it don't.
Yeah, it's obvious, man. I don't know what you could do with somebody that can't see that. But hey, I wanted to ask you, just based off some of the questions in the chat, the people want to know, like, what in your opinion, what are some practical ways, that people can incorporate this knowledge into their life, as far as how to move, as far as their nationality and just family structure and things like this. Like, how can they incorporate this into their lives, Because some people are like going crazy with all this.
In my opinion, you start at the beginning and you start with yourself. Because everything begins with your worldview. You're the hero and the villain of your own story. So you got to build yourself to be the person the individual you envision. So if you've accepted that you are a Moorish American or the same from the Great Moorish Empire, then it's your responsibility to mold yourself towards what your understanding of that is, and to allow that understanding to evolve as you evolve in it. Instead of cookie cutter and try to put yourself into a box of what somebody says what a Moor is, try to understand it for yourself and then get with others that have a direct understanding. Somebody that just got into Moorish Science around the same time you did may not have a greater understanding, but anybody that's been in this more than 4 years, 5 years is a vet, because I know people who have literally gone insane dealing with this. I know people who have gone to jail or on the run who, have disappeared. You know what I mean? All because they went so heavy into different directions of it without understanding themselves first. Just because you were Moor doesn't make you a good person.
Yeah.
You understand? The Moors fell when they know, but nature fell. So it's in your nature to destroy yourself, to take all of what Allah has given us and forsake it for trinkets, beads, and mirrors and stuff. So when you know that about yourself, you have to understand and decide what your level of involvement is going to be. So I want to be the type of Moor that is just that in name only, and just walk around and still act as a 14th Amendment citizen? Or am I going to structure myself in the form of how my ancestors did? And my ancestors lived in empires, kingdoms, and dominions. They didn't live in cities. So I'm going to structure my house, which is my noble house, my royal house, into that estate to build that kingdom, to bring back that empire. So you start again with self, researching that. And when you feel the waves of anger with all the truth that you have started to accept and go into, and start to feel like, you really not feeling these white people, and these blacks are just really, when you start to feel that way, just understand that that's a natural part of it. When people around you start to pull back away from you, not because you even talking about it, but just vibrationally, certain people just kind of drift off. You understand that's a part of it. Because when you accept yourself to be a Bey or Il or a Day or Al or Ali or Pasha or Allah, you are accepting the physiological changes that go with that. You are saying to the universe, I am that I am. You know what I'm saying? Because the highest God was Il, right? And Il or Ella or Allah or Ella or Allah or Alu, all of that is the same vibrational force that brought everything into existence. Well, we are the only ones that walk around with that as our title of nobility, because that's the title of God on earth as it is in heaven. And everybody know that. You understand? So because everybody know that, they know that you don't know the full weight and power of that yet, because you don't have the state to enforce it. So you got to build that state. So you start with correcting the name via declaration through a court proceeding, so that way it becomes a formal record, but you do it based on your declaration, which then makes it an Article 3. You can prove that it's an Article 3 by the historical aspect, based on things like the Judiciary Act and things like that, and the fact you're doing it from an ecclesiastical position. Once that's done, then you need to correct the status that they have you listed as through things like the Social Security and the SF-181, which are all just tools. These are not end-all to be-alls. Okay, I've done this, now that's it. No, this is a lifelong thing. But the basis of it is to get to a point where now you are in harmony with things and not the opposite. And the way to do that is to operate everything via the ecclesiastic and the private trust that is established by you. Because if you're dealing in a private trust, that means you're a private citizen. That means that you are not. That means you're a national. And then because you proclaim yourself to be over ill or they or they or whatever, you are now defining yourself through a free national process that was laid out for you by the only American prophet to ever truly exist and be universally accepted by everybody except his own people. You ain't never had a white man come out to talk crap about Noah Jolly.
Yeah.
It's only black people that do that. Because that's their ritual. That's the ritual that they're like Igor, and the black Mason's like Igor, and then the white Mason's like Frankenstein. You know what I'm saying? And then and the Moor is the monster. You understand? And he's trying to alter it or whatever. So in that, once you make the clear delineation between you and that fiction, and then create that distance by reclaiming the estate under Moroccan jurisdiction, it, as well as you, become foreign, and now it becomes a victim of your enterprise, meaning you have the ability now to interface via whatever through it. And then once all the documentation is corroborated, you then send that off to the Bureau of Consular Affairs to receive your so-called passport that is reflective of your national character. It's not going to say Moor on it or Moorish American on it. That's not your government. That's what you got to understand. It's your government, but it's not your government. You're part and parcel. You have a vested interest, and they have the responsibility to pay any debt that you bring to them. They don't want you to bring them no debt, so what they do is keep you in debt in the inferior courts and states. So what you're doing now is debting all the inferior thing and going right back to the mandate of the treaty that is based upon things that happened prior to us being born. And so, because of that, you now can access the Algonquin, aka indigenous side of your tribe, which would be your family name. So, when you look at the Dawes, all before the Dawes rolls and the Dawes Acts, all the Indians was Asiatic. Period. The real ones was all Asiatic. The fringe ones, the mestizo ones, the Mexican looking ones, those was the ones that they wanted to really do away with first. Or control, or force into other territories. And then the blacks, they just, through paper, genocided them, listing thousands of people as blacks. And then all of the Cherokee numbers is gone, or all of the Zalagi Ananoia numbers is gone. And then they just fill those up with white people who pay $5 to adopt those names. And then those white people then go and then steal them more, right? Who was the real inheritor of the land, and then force him to adopt the name through them. But now the clan title, Il or Bay, is stripped. See, so now the indigenous people that's fighting back got to use their actual names as their tribal names. So Ananoia or Tazalagi is what they're calling themselves, but that's not necessarily what the people were. Understand? This is just what we or they or our ancestors referred to themselves when they were talked about by other people and so forth and so on. You know what I'm saying? But initially, there's one Sioux writer, I believe his name is Charles Peters or something like that, but he wrote that they didn't even have surnames. So the names that were given and that were used, those were the closest sounding to names. So names like Peter would have been Puatia. See? But instead of Puatia, we must say Peter. You see what I'm saying? Uasian, okay, Wilson. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
see what I'm saying? Ba'akadan, okay, Proaton, Protion, okay, Al Borate, okay, Albert. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Easy. That's how to practice. That's how to. It wasn't. And then once all of that was done and it's formally written, these people, these places, now like we can list. Okay, they abandoned their government, so this is what we want to do. Okay, let's give it all these things. And that's when genocide started with Jackson and all that. So today we are the inheritors of all of that without the liability. So my tribal name, right? In my case, is Rogers. That's a Creek name. That's also a Washington name. That's also an Anomaly name. That's also a Catawba name, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm Prince Charles, right, of the Rogers Creek or Ananuia or Tasalagi or, you see what I'm saying, Okataba of the Moorish clan of Eel. You see how it worked together?
Yeah.
Harmony. It's harmony. So this means I ain't got to go and say I'm a Cherokee or this or that to get that. Because when I say I'm Moorish American, I'm saying that. See, the cracker is not coming to me and saying, okay, well, define to me exactly. No, nigga, it's what I say.
Exactly. If I could pause you right there so that you could come right back to this and see what you just said there. This is a unifier, you know, like we had a show on earlier with another brother who's Lene Lenape with you on, and what we're trying to hit on, like let everyone understand, which I think people get it, you know, for the most part. This is the unifier, you know, all the tribes,
I'm not
you know,
trying to be against that.
yeah.
You claim yourself whatever you want to be if you're born here.
Yeah, because somebody's in the chat saying like
that's cool. But if I say I'm a Moorish American and my grandmother, and I can show my grandmother, my grandmother's grandmother, my grandmother's grandmother's grandmother, always been here and went through all these different tribes in terms of my family line. How is it now? And if I say I'm Moorish American, now none of that applies to me. That don't make sense. That's
exactly.
Not real.
Yeah.
That's not real. It's how I define it and how I declare it and how I put it in. And because I put it under this umbrella that's also now attached to those Moors that had those 6 treaties with those vast nations that was already here, going back to time immemorial, going back to the Phoenician expansion, written about in numerous books.
Mm-hmm.
Numerous. You understand? Where it's documented we were speaking the same Latin that people like Prince Uriel Bey, bless the dead, brought back to us in the applicable form that we could be speaking it now, with other brothers like, there's another brother who wrote a book called 9/11. Forget. It's a brother. I'm going to get the title and send it to you.
All right.
He wrote a book and sent it to me. It's really dope on how to decipher and speak the Phoenician, Canaanite language and alphabet.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we're taught phonics, that's how our ancestors taught us Phoenician. Phonics come from Phoenician.
Yeah.
And all the alphabets came from them. So Phoenician, Phoenix, phonics, it's the same thing. But again, when you use these words interchangeably without the context, you see, this is the problem with that. And because that's how the cracker has created his warfare with the weaponization of language and words, our people have adopted that form of warfare with each other. So now if I say I'm Moorish American, that's me saying I'm not Ananuia, I'm not Tasalagi. No, I'm even more of that now. Because now I get to enhance the rights of the ancestors that identify with that and couple it back with what they were disconnected from when all of this went haywire. And it all went crazy in 1492. And the only people who suffered directly from that was the only people who was in power at the time. And they were the only people who maintained a global mercantile network that went across the world. Where I can go to China right now and get records from the Song Empire, and they're going to talk to me about Moors bringing them pumpkins from America that was the size of their cars. Come on now.
Yeah. So people who are saying that they're over, yeah, people who are saying that are oversimplifying it for the most part. They you know, I mean, it doesn't matter how well, you know, studied these people are, you know, if they're attacking it or they think that you being a Moorish American is saying, you know, that you're not indigenous, they're oversimplifying it. They're not aware of the connection, the link that goes back even farther than that. Have you seen the Black Pyramid? There was there's this guy, this Austrian guy named Klaus Dana. He's always talking about it. Yeah, it was found in Ecuador, and then it has the writing, the script that, you know, they had some guy from he was a Berber, and he could understand the script on there, you know, and they found it all over the world, so they know that there was a worldwide language. And for some people hearing this may be too unbelievable because, you know, then you're talking about Lemuria or Atlantis, you know, and so they're thinking like, that's, you know, there's no proof of that. That's going too far.
White men got you thinking that stuff happened millions of years ago. Yeah. But what happened to the blacks that was running the pyramids and had these ancient civilizations of Mesoamerica and all that? All them blacks got pushed up into the north and wound up in the south and wound up in La Venta and Palenque, and then they wound up further south and then wound up in the Pueblos, and then had to move further north in the northeast, and then wound up in the thing, and then they wound up all getting deciding whatever their names was or whatever from the tribes that they always was going to be. That's why you don't see no flags from those so-called Indian tribes prior to the 1800s. If they was their own nations, specifically as nations, the way we see them today, then where were their flags? How is it that we only see flags and seals from them after, well, really flags, they had seals, but after, the main one we see is the Iroquois joint. And that, again, is going back to the late 1700s. I'm talking about, we can show flags from the Moors going back to almost 50,000 years. We can show people Moors wearing feathers and stuff in the times of Hannibal and even before that. In terms of us being Moabites, to say that in the history of the Moabites, we separated from the traditional Hebrew tribes 31 BC.
And somebody just said something about Hebrew Israelites. Listen to the brother. Sorry.
When you research the Moabite or the Moab tribe, in that the Moab had a subdivision called the Pahath Moab, who were where we get the term Pasha from. And when you research the Pahath Moab and what they contributed to the so-called 12 tribes, they were the ones who chose who was going to be the leaders for all of the other tribes. So why would they do that? Because a lot of the Moabites or the Pahath Moab were of the original descendants of ancient Canaan that were there before Joshua came and broke the walls down. And some of them stayed and became the so-called Moors, the high priest of them, and it allowed them to learn the traditional Canaanite, which became the Hebrew language and the technology and stuff they were dealing with. Because remember, the Hebrews weren't one people. They were a conglomeration of tribes that grew up amongst the so-called Egyptians. And because they were in a different mercantile class and financial class, they developed their own language. The same way we all grew up in the ghetto, we speak English, but we got our own language, our own ghetto, our own slang that people that's not from the ghetto don't understand. That's how it was with the Hebrew language. But that, again, was developed by those people who were conglomerates, some from Canaan, some from here, some from there. So eventually, out of all of them, Musa, the story goes. Now we're going by the story. As Musa now gets the story, he comes in and decides, look, these people, we got to have our own. Because he grew up in the court, so he knew better. So he leaves the pyramidal system, right, which is the system of the ancient world, super ancient world, and then goes into the so-called desert, the wilderness, and then starts dealing with Jethro, the high priest of Anu, the Moor, who's always seen in a turban and a fez, right, with tassels and all of that. And he was the keeper of the Kaaba stone at the time that all of the Moors and them people around there would deal with. So this is the foundation now that Musa, who marries Jethro's daughter, the Ethiopian princess from Abyssinia, this is now the link between the Hebrews, the Abyssinians, right, the so-called Egyptians, and the so-called Canaanites. The Jethro was from Midian, and Midian was under the jurisdiction of Canaan. So there under a cube system. Remember, I told you they watching the Kaaba.
Yeah.
So now Musa comes back from them, right? Comes back down, goes into Kemet, Egypt, get everybody out. They go back to where he just came from. But because they so messed up.
Uh-oh. Did we lose the brother?
Right?
Okay.
They go back to worshiping Islam.
We can hear you. We lost you for a minute. You back.
Yeah. They go back to worshiping Mithra, who in Egypt is Hathor. And so Musa comes down, chastise them from that, kill all of the ones that won't reconvert, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they, at the time, Jethro, the high priest, they was all worshiping El, or El, or Elion, or Ella, or Allah, right? And so Musa and them changed that to Yahweh, you see? And so from there, they go into Canaan, shut Canaan down, adopt all of the Canaanite lithics and all of the stuff that the Canaanites had, and then that now becomes Hebrew. But because they broke their brothers, they cursed. See what I'm saying? From that point. Because now we got to go, like it says in Circle 7, we go back to where they originally came from, Egypt, right? Go to the pharaohs and say, look, these niggas then came, took our land, we need our own. He says, oh, well, go back to where you originally came from, the West, right? Now think about it. Pharaoh was the European word used to describe the king in Egypt, but in Egypt they refer to as the Nasut, N-Y-S-U-T, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the Paharu, right? Pharaoh was the original name of the head or tribe on what's now Montauk, called the Montaka. The chief of the Montaka was called the Pharaoh. So that then means, or makes more sense when we read Peter Moon's books and all that, when it talks about the Montauk people being the original pharaohs of Egypt, right, over here, and had connection to the Egypt that was the dominions that was connected to Egypt through the different pyramid structures that was here, the ones in the Grand Canyon, the ones in Peru, you see what I'm saying? The ones in Mexico, you see, because you have certain pyramidal structures and then you have certain step pyramids, so that shows a difference in the joint. So they went from a pyramidal system, right, which was the Isis, then they went through the solar system in terms of the cube, so that's Ra, right? Then they go and adopt the Canaanite version, or the Canaanite god, El, convert that to Yahweh, right? And now they take El. So now the state is now the conglomeration of three different ideologies conglomerated together in the form of Israel. You understand? Which is why in the Bible it says that Yaqub changed his name once he wrestled with the angels. Who is the angels in the Circle 7? Who are the angels in the 101s? They are the messengers of Allah, right?
Yep.
And name one angel whose name don't end with L. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, an elder told me once, a noble Moor I know, real good Moor, he told me, he said, look, Moor, for Moor don't know, don't nobody know.
Wow.
Remember that.
Yeah.
Remember that. And real Moors know what I'm talking about. So when Hebrew Israelites be going through they thing and all of that, like those are brothers. Like I like how they get down in terms of their gear and all that. I just think that they're very extreme, and because they've been so weaponized with the doctrine, they, in a sense, have made themselves more opposed to the liberation of all of us than the integration of that. Because I've seen wild stuff they've done and said, and it is what it is. I would, bring. I saw images of the so-called heads of it, and it looked like these two Caucasian dudes. So I'm not saying that's true or not, or who these guys were, but what I do know is that there is such a thing called controlled opposition.
Yeah.
And this does not mean that every brother that's involved with that is full of hate or is trying to do what it is that their image says. But when it really comes down to it, as a Moorish American, I come from the tribe of Moab, and that was connected to Canaan, and Canaan was connected to Dan. And, as a Moor, I'm also a Saracen, so that connects me to Sarah, and that also connects me to Abraham, you see, in their little stories. You see what I'm saying? But that also has a more that also connects me to Esau, you know, and that also connects me to Cleopatra and Ptolemy and Hannibal, and we're connected to all of these people literally by blood. And it activates when you accept that that's true. And so everything about you, when you defile Calamity ill, everything starts to conform around you, that vibration, to accept more of that ill type energy. The Cherokees that signed the deal with Penn at the Treaty of Elm, when we talk about Elm Street, Treaty of Elm in thing, they refer to themselves as the Eels, but they spelled it with 2 E's. Most can look that up. That's why the treaties was done. So you had the Lenni and Napes that wasn't really dealing with the amalgamators and all of that, and then you had the so-called Delaware Moors, who was the ones dealing with the treaties. You see what I'm saying? You see, so in the end, it's really, if you make yourself opposite to everything, you're gonna be opposed to everything. If you understand that you as a Moor, your free national name is Moorish American. Your noble name is your name with the title at the end of it, with a Bay or a Eo or a Day or whatever. Your race is Asiatic, and then your status in this country, the closest thing could only be white, because they are the only ones classified as being of the original peoples of North Africa. So your free national name, so your political status designations, free national name is Moorish American. You are Moor, which is a non-inflectional noun, non-inflectional verb that appears as a noun. You understand? So when you say you're a Moor, so if I say, peace, Moor, can you have peace, Moor? Can you give me more of that? In that instance, I have said Moor twice, but the inflection of you as a Moor in the noun translates then also as a verb, because a Moor, when you're doing something to have more, you're moving. You understand? It's a motion thing. So it has the inflection of a noun, but you as a Moor now is a verb. So when I said, oh, look, they go to Moor. You see what I'm saying? Whatever you're doing at the time is what that Moor is doing. You see what I'm saying? But I'm not referring to him just as a thing or person. I'm referring to him as a being. You understand? So when I say I'm a Moor, I'm referring to myself what type of being I am. When I say I'm a Moorish American, I'm classifying the geographic location and the political structure that I deal with. When I ask my race, I say Asiatic, because I come from the time when this place was Asia, which means what God has made. This whole thing was one. And then my religion, let's say, or I could be referred to as a Muslim, because I give praise and respect to all of the ancient prophets. You see, but I'm a Moor of my imperial self, because wherever I go in the world, my people was one of the original peoples of that place. And I know, because they was all wearing the same feather turban I got on right now, whether they was Islamic or not. How about that?
Islamic.
They was wearing feathers and turbans in Carthage.
They was wearing them in Peru.
And turbans in Egypt. They was wearing them in Peru.
They
was wearing them in Germany. They was wearing them in, you know what I'm saying? California. They was wearing them in Japan. They was wearing them in China.
They were wearing them in Brazil too. Russia. We saw that up close and personal. Islam.
So what? So all these people just wore the same type of headgear, but they had no relationship to one another. Okay. Like none of these white people is related, but the minute something go down with one of them, they all ready to come and hang all of us. Right? Right. Okay.
Yeah. Man, Aseer, you getting mad love in this chat. You're gonna want to come check this video out later on, so you can see all the love you getting, man. Yeah, I can tell some people man. There's some people that haven't really heard of you before, man. So this is really enlightening for them. And I just want to remind everybody that we have the websites and the links for Aseer in the description. And I'm showing you the book.
You, man,
I got this book, The Dark Skull 418. You can't see this, Aseer, but yeah, I'm holding it up. So yeah, hey, can you tell everybody where they can get that from?
Yeah, man. Right now, I'm going through the colorization of that. Big up to my colorist, brother Oumuamua. He's really hooking it up. I'm gonna get the reprinted version of it in color. We're gonna break it up and have it a bit more bells and whistles to it. But I had it out. I brought it out in 2008. It's a great read. It's basically was about everything that's kind of going on now from the perspective of what we call superheroes, and it's really dope. I'm working on the prequel version of that, which will feature John Henry, and kind of revolves around the old American folk hero John Henry that battled the machine to the last fight. Gonna relate to the Dark Skull 418, but
okay.
Yeah, it's a real good read. You got a 5-star rating. One of the only books get a 5-star rating on Amazon.
Yeah,
sold out every time I printed a hard copy, so I'm about to come out with the rejoins and some of the models and stuff, so we could really start to turn it into like our own type of like real Avengers type thing and all of that. Also, big up on Stan Lee, man, bless the dead. I grew up reading all his comics, and him, Jack Kirby, you know what I'm saying? Those are good Jewish boys, man.
Somebody just asked about him too.
The story, you know what I'm saying? They was in the story. They definitely did their little dirt or whatever. But when it came to the comics and the mythos and keeping the Moorish history alive through comics, if you knew what was going on, it really shaped why I could look at things the way that I look at them now. And I want to definitely give strength and praise to him because they really sacrificed him at the end. People don't know they stole vials of his blood. They tried to get him to sign different contracts. They was drugging him. Like they was doing a lot of type of stuff because he was trying to keep a lot of the stuff clean. But a lot of people don't know during the Whitewater scandal, Stan Lee was involved in that because when Marvel fired him, they really tried to take the bread from him. So he wound up getting a little job with DC, worked for them for a little while, wasn't getting a lot of bread. So he needed more money to start his own company. So here comes Bill and Hillary Clinton come in and gave him a whole chunk of cash to start up this comic situation. But turns out the cash came from the Whitewater deal, and the person that wound up giving him the check wound up dead. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So he had a lot of situations where they was wrapping him up in situations, you know. So people might want to look into that. There's a couple of good books and stuff like that. A book called The Conspiracy Against Rock. Get that book. Get another book called Weird Scenes. It's called Weird Scenes something in Laurel Canyon. Weird Scenes, Stories of Laurel Canyon, something like that. Get them books. That book, in those books, when you read it, you'll basically see that every rock star that you've ever seen on TV was basically a government agent. And everyone was programmed at some point or the other. And that the ones who find out too late is the ones, that's not around today. Big up Paul McCartney. There's another book on that. I don't know if anybody knows the story about Billy Shears and Paul McCartney. That's been around forever. That this Paul McCartney ain't really the real Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney died in '65. All of that. You heard about that?
Wow. Nah.
Wow. That's the Billy Shears conspiracy. That's the one where they said they swapped out Paul McCartney in the '60s. He got decapitated in a car crash.
Wow.
They got a dude named Billy Pepper. At the time, he was Billy Pepper and the Pepper Pots. A lot of those original songs came in, and he was brought in to replace Paul. He had to learn to play with a left hand, and he had to do a lot of different things. That's why there was a break between the last album and Sgt. Pepper. Sgt. Pepper was the new Paul coming on the scene, and the old Paul dead in the casket in front of him. That's why when you look at that book, at that cover, you see Aleister Crowley in it. Everybody that was in the Illuminati at the time, that was luminaries, was in that picture. And that was a funeral picture for the real Paul. Then after that, they came out with this album called The music mystery machine. Then they start doing album covers with like dismembered baby dolls with bloody meat.
Yeah.
Wilding.
Yeah.
That's when he brought him into the Hindu stuff, and they started getting heavy into the trust stuff. So yeah, so everybody knew, but he was actually talented.
Wow.
So to the point that if you look it up, the British just launched an investigation to see if indeed a long-term sleeper agent has been commissioned. Because he's been knighted twice.
Mm-hmm.
It would make sense. They knight him once for Paul, and then they knight him twice. The second time for him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they trying to really look into that right now. That's like a big low-key scandal that's been there. So yeah, this is the world that they created where you can't believe nothing. Everything is suspect.
Yeah.
You don't know if the boys. You got to ask people if they were born men, if they were born women.
Wow.
Definitely don't eat no pigs.
Yeah.
Because again, if they doing it to the pigs, they doing it to the cows. They doing
Uh-huh.
it to the goats. They doing it to the horse. Any type of meat.
Yeah.
They doing it. If they having sex with the pigs, they having sex with the horses. They having sex with the cows.
Wow.
They're telling you that too.
Yeah.
So think about it.
Yeah. And it's not hard to believe because they were doing that stuff, and then they'll go and rape our women, rape the children, get them, these
and they'll go home and have
STDs.
sex with their own wives.
Yeah.
And then have babies. You understand? Or they'll let the sheep or the pig or whatever have the baby. They eat that, sell that to you. You don't know what it is. That's what I'm trying to say. If you don't have your own community and can control your own people's viewpoint, the only people that are searching for other people's community to help them are black people.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else. Candace Owens will never be a real leader because she'll always need a white man's shoulder to stand on. Always. Kanye West will never deliver anybody to any type of freedom because he always needs white man's thing to stand on. Anyone presented to you, made by them, is not ever going to help you to the point that you need help. Because in the end, the only help that you can have is to help yourself. And the only way you can do that is to decide what people you're going to be. And once you decide that, you then have to make sure that it's anchored to something real on the land. And the only thing that is fully made by us, for us, was what Prophet left. Niggas can say what they want. They can hate on them. They can hate on the temple. This thing's about stuff I don't like. This is more that I don't like.
All right.
But that don't mean that if something goes down and the men try to bang on them, I'm not going to try to come to their aid. Because I would want them to do that for me, regardless of whether or not I'm in your jury, I'm a part of your little thing or not. That's how real I'm about it, more.
Yeah.
I don't give a damn. You could debate me about the other shit later. Oh, great. What are we going to do about this cracker right now, this AR-15? I got a sword. What you got?
Man, where like people don't even get that. We don't even have to get along. Like, come on, let's do this. But okay, on that tip,
how many Moors hated each other and sent each other beautiful gifts? They said that when you read Budget Meekin book about the Sultan of America, again, I said it, the Sultan of America. There's a book by Budget Meekin. He talks about how the Moorish Americans didn't get along with the Swanee African men because they were too wrapped up in the British, and because they were American, they thought the American way of life was better.
Yeah.
And that the Sultan of America presented an elephant to the Queen of England that was so big that it made the elephant from Africa that the Sultan Hassan gave her look like an ant.
Wow.
So
the
when
Sultan
I read
of
that,
America.
The first thing in my mind was, oh shit, elephants is indigenous to America. Then I thought about it, woolly mammoths. Then I was like, yo, I wonder if I could. So I started looking into text, and sure enough, I found pictures of elephants in the stone carvings in the Mayan pyramids. Then I started researching how camels was indigenous to America first.
Yeah.
That's where the llama's here. The llama is the pre-camel. Niggas turned the llamas into the camels, and then created what they call the Bactrian camel, the double hump camel.
Yeah.
That Clitus, the Niger in them, and Alexander used during the campaign against Darius. So all of this history, again,
But see, people don't want to hear what you're saying.
This from the 1800s, early 1800s, man.
They don't want to hear what you're saying because the Europeans telling them that process happened over 1,000,000 years. You know, not that it was domesticated and done by humans.
From 200 years ago to control you. Mm-hmm. So how is it the old shit work for him, but it don't work for you?
I mean, we can see the domestication process happening right now with all types of animals. So, yeah.
But see, once you do it as a community, a real community, not just a little religious storefront temple, but I mean like a real community, like the Freemasons. Look, they just arrested almost 1,000+ people in an AKA child sex ring. Mm-hmm. Look it up in Georgia, right when this so-called AKA is running for governor.
Wow.
Okay, and it's black people, black women taking their little AKA soror, whatever they do with their little ski all that shit. They taking them with their little letters to these old, rich, dirty white men and these old, dirty black Mason, Freemason niggas and slutting them out, selling them, and doing all of this.
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
You talking to me about voting?
Mm-hmm.
Nigga, come on, man. Look, all we need, you want to vote, nigga? You want to get a new president? Let's get all the Moors in the country together, and we do one block. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Get all them together and have them do one block vote.
Uh-huh.
Right in the block vote. No, I didn't, huh?
Word. Well, okay. All right, can you hear me? Okay, what?
All of them together. Yeah, I can hear you.
Go ahead and finish.
Let's all the Moors in the country together, do one big block vote, and then vote for more. There's a Moor right now that just won office somewhere in the Midwest. I forget the Moor's name. Big up to him.
Yeah, there was a Moor that got in. There was a Moor that got voted in as mayor, and it's like a little suburb or something of LA. I forgot the name of the little town.
That's how it started.
Yeah.
That's how it started, Moore, and his whole cabinet Moore. That's what I'm saying. Who's more noble to be able to do that? Inshallah, bless him. You know the great work he can do. Moors need to support. Moors is going to, if you want to do it, then do it for real. And when you in there, do something for the Moors. That's all I'm saying. Because if a Jew get in there, he going to do something for the Jews. If a Hindu get in there, he going to do something for the Hindus. The only people that get in there and step and fetch it is niggas.
Yeah.
And that's because all these niggas are caught up in these little groups and these little signs and these little orders and these little promises to ghosts.
Yeah. For real. They on their way out. Everybody knows that, right? They on their way out.
That's all I'm saying, Moore.
So what advice would you have for the Moors out there because people are going at it. They going at it in chat. They go at it on all these videos. Like, would you advise Moors to go into the temple? What advice would you have for the Moors out here?
I think if we call ourselves Moorish Americans or Moors, it's our duty to take care of anything that's associated with us, period. So if it's Moorish American, and the only organization I know that talked about black people being in America before any other black organization was the Moorish Science of America. Because the prophet said, when the European got here, he found Moors living up and down the Mississippi River. Because the prophet said, gave me the dominions of Africa in Egypt. The dominions of Egypt and Africa. And laid out in chapter 47 my entire dominion. And when I accept that, circle 7, that becomes an express trust, which then makes me a part of something that goes even beyond him. Because he is not God. Prophet Nubuju Ali was not God. He never said that he was God, he was worship him. You understand? That's what I know. I never read somewhere he said, worship me as your Lord and Savior. I never read that.
Yeah.
What he said was love yourself. What he said was study yourself.
Yeah.
He said learn to love instead of hate.
Yeah.
He the only one that created a movement that they didn't create every other movement after that.
Yeah.
From the 5 principles that he brought. The love movement in the 60s. I always say it. The love movement in the 60s. The truth movement in the 80s. The peace movement in the 60s. The freedom movement in the 60s. Right? the justice movement, no justice, no peace, right? The late 60s, 70s, right? The equality movement. Let's vote. Let's everybody get together, right?
Yeah, my wife just said power in numbers.
Islam.
Yeah.
But it's also quality over quantity though, man. You don't want a bunch of Moors that just gonna come around with dirty feathers, dirty intentions, and dirty sheikesses coming around trying to extort you and get all of this and that, not produce no work for nothing. You don't want that either.
Yeah.
That's why we gotta raise our own standard in our own house first.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can't establish the situation for your house first, and we all guilty of it. I was guilty of it. I went so heavy as I was neglecting all types of stuff. Thank God I was able to snap out of it, and I was with somebody that let me know, hey, nigga, you tripping. Like, you're gonna go crazy, like such and such and such. And yeah, you know what, you right. But what helped me was severing the ties with dirty Moors, whether they was Moors declared or not. That allowed me to flip it. You got a lot of Moors out here calling themselves sheiks and all that. These things ain't got no wives. How you gonna be you ain't got no wife?
See, that's what I was saying, man. Like, you know, you can't even take people seriously.
Not be obligated.
Yeah.
You ain't even got a baby mom that you on good terms with.
Like, how hard is it to maintain a relationship with the opposite sex? You know,
it's hard.
I'm not saying it's easy, but if you can't do that, can we really take you serious? Word. Yeah.
It don't bring you security like that. If you're looking for this to bring you to security, no, you got to create the security within yourself and then apply that how you can with the parameters that because now it's all open for you.
Yeah.
So now you can run the account. Now you can run the estate. Now you can claim this deed. Now you can put that all in trust. Now you are not liable for this. Now you don't have to pay that. Now, do you have the wherewithal and the moral character to be able to navigate that without bugging out, going off the deep end, trying to scam everybody, trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like, can you do that? No, most of us can't.
Word.
But see, I came from the time where you actually had to go out and get knowledge. You had to, you know what I'm saying? Like I was out here on this, going to powwows, making DVDs about it, showing how these niggas was Moors, talking to Indians at the powwow, and them saying, yeah, we are Moors. Go and check out the Native Blood at the Shinnecock powwow I did. There's a DVD on my website to check in the link. I'm there.
Yeah.
Others in mind going through it and watching the dances, all that. Then the next day, go to Labor Day, and show you how it's the same people doing the same thing.
Wow.
You understand? So when people try to bring this this wedge between like, oh, I'm on Compton, I'm gonna have a like, that's not a nation. That's not a That's a designation.
Yeah.
That's a designation. That's not a nation. That's an identifying factor, but it doesn't identify you. It just lumps you into a faceless herd of a bunch of pictures that we see on Facebook and YouTube and all that. Who are you in the definitive of that? What nation specifically? And what international correspondent to that nation do you have? Like, every nation has an international correspondent. Like, people think that it's just China. No. It's the People's Republic of China.
Yeah.
And then there's the Republic of China.
Yeah.
The Republic of China is real China. That's the real national China. The China you see in Africa and all that, that's the mind control clone, ex-Lenin, ex-Mao, who were both Jesuits, mind control. Okay? That's the destroy the world through pollution. That's the fact. This is what happens when you allow the whole world to send goods to you to make for them. When you become the factory of the world, you become China.
Yeah. Wow.
You understand? And now they can't even live there. So what they got to do, they got to force the Africans out, and the Africans going to let them. Because the Africans ain't have their own since the white man left.
Yeah. That's
so bad. Don't try to lump me with somebody that can't get their shit together.
Yeah.
I need to be down with them, Akon, after China then gave you $1 billion credit limit. That's an agent.
Yeah, and you like not knocking anybody, but you're in a country where like 80 to 90% of the people look like you, and you're not running things, so you know.
Right. you're about to build a smart city like Johnny Depp in Transcendence.
Yeah.
You're gonna chip all them niggas up and they gonna be up in there, and it's gonna be popping.
Yeah, man.
But in the end, Akon, like my dude, like you my man. I'm really thankful for your success and all of that. But again, if they giving you $1 billion, you work for them. Period. They not you work for them. You're an ambassador for China.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is that explains why Trump wasn't trying to take his aid for Puerto Rico, because then that would have been China helping Puerto Rico. You see?
Yeah.
It's never the apparent. It's always the under. That's what I mean. If you just watching it from, oh, Trump hate black people. No, I don't think you do. I think Trump hates everybody.
Yeah.
That's not Trump.
Is Trump his own man? Like, everybody. Is he a wild card?
No, Trump is his real name.
Yeah.
Trump, DRUMPH. Excuse me, PF. Yeah, that's his name. But I mean, he's already written into the story.
Yeah.
They already prepped him with Biff Tannen with us in the 80s. They already prepped him. All the rappers prepped him with us with the metaphors, how much money they got, like Trump.
Yeah.
They already prepped him with us with The Apprentice. We already used to him running shit with really no money. Prince Al-Waleed, who's under house arrest now, just put out how he bailed Trump out twice, bought 2 of the Trump towers, and bought the boat off Trump so he could pay off the tax debt and all that. Like, wow. he in jail. That's why he don't like Trump.
Yeah. Prince
Al-Waleed was deep into American politics. This nigga owns CNN.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabian, but nobody's talking about that. He on Fox.
Yeah.
So, again, Trump don't hate black people. He hate all people.
Yeah.
But again, which Trump we talking about? We talking about the one with the red tie, the one with the blue tie, the one with the blonde hair, the one with the red hair. We talking about the one from the future, the one you brought from the past. Because you do know his father, his uncle, John Trump, was the one dealing with all the Tesla stuff.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, he was dealing with all of the Russian KGB stuff that you read about in the movie, you see in the movie The Good Shepherd with Matt Damon. Excellent occult movie. All about Skull and Bones. And more, this is what it is. All these people is doing all their own thing. So all we got to do as Moorish Americans is do for Moorish Americans. That's all we got to do. It's like Black Friday about to come out. These niggas about to go out and literally kill themselves to buy shit they don't need.
Yeah.
So Moors, you got to let them do that. Start thinking smarter. But look at what's happening in California. Trump then signed over California to China. They're burning all of the stuff with targeted direct energy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And they're moving all of those white people out because they want to turn China into what they want to make it look like what it looked like in Blade Runner. Remember Blade Runner? That was in San Francisco. That's how they want California to eventually look. Wow. So all that's going to be China.
Wow.
But at the same time, it's about to fall into the sea. It's on the fault line. It's all polluted. All of the stuff from Fukushima is all up in there. That's why all the stuff is radiation.
Yeah, people forgot about that.
Poisoning.
Yeah, somebody just asked if you still stand on your views about the California wildfires. Like,
with the direct energy weapons.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a video with, I guess somebody was in a helicopter or in a plane, and they were videotaping the helicopter, and you could see flames coming out of like some string or something hanging down from the helicopter, and then all the stuff lighting up, and it's just going around, lighting the forest on fire, right?
Lightning don't come down in a straight line, man.
Yeah.
So you look at the end of the movie, the animated movie Akira. They show you the energy weapons they use to burn up shit and blow stuff. I mean, people, like I said, man, people ask me what I believe, and like a lot of stuff, I assess it, and I move on.
Yeah.
Once I make the determination for myself based on whatever little research or assessment I do, I free myself of it. So I've already assessed that there's some sort of energy weapon, and this is the same one that they've been using in different places. They can target this thing. I told you, these satellites don't revolve around the Earth. They happen with balloons and stuff.
Yeah.
All of the fiber optic, all of the communications is going through cables under the ground. But they got y'all niggas got us so inundated with technology. You see how we're told they took us away from records. They took us away through. We can't even touch the music no more. Now you can't even see the music.
Yeah.
There's no album cover. There's nothing.
Yeah.
They disconnected everybody from everything. So when that happens, you got to go back to the beginning. And the last empire that was kicking this white man's ass was the Moorish Empire. I don't care what nobody say, because everywhere else in the world I've gone and represented this same empire that these Negroes today are telling me don't exist, I get the exact opposite. Yeah, these niggas start bringing out stuff.
Yeah.
They start taking me places. Oh, this is where the Moors live. You understand? They done rebuilt the green domes, the Moorish dome, because when the dirties, when Abdulaziz took over, the dirty one, there's like 3 different Abdulaziz. So when the dirty Abdulaziz took over, he banned all Moors, Christians, so-called Freemasons, and Shiites from going to Mecca, and went into the quarters and had all of those quarters, like in Jerusalem, where the Moors built the Moorish quarter, the Moroccan quarter, destroyed it. Same thing in Saudi Arabia, destroyed all of the Moorish stuff. Yeah, because the Moorish stuff was always in its own quarter and always had its own flair to it with its arches and the green domes. Yeah. So now that this thing happened with Morocco, they are now redoing the Moroccan quarter, and they just added the green domes back to the main city in Riyadh. Wow. So what that means for us as Moors is that our aspect of Islam, which is true Islam, because it's based on Allah, which is the arm, leg, arm, head, which is the highest self, they refer to that type of Islam as moderate Islam. And that's the Islam that they say that they're going to break Saudi Arabia up to start to do. So it's going to be in 3 different sections. It's going to be the religious quarter section, the secular city, and the old city. Wow. And each one have its own jurisdiction. So again, Muhammad, peace to the king, he then made himself somewhat of a vassal to Saud. But that's him. He's in the kingdom. We in the empire. We the true Hashemite Canaanite line, Moabite line. So we get our shit together. You see what I'm saying? And make our presence known as a people. Then the Almoracanos, i.e. the Almoracan, i.e. the Almerican, you see, we now go back to our original status because we're the ones that helped people the original republic as the founders of the several states. Period. Which is why we're supposed to be using the 48 state flag, not the 51 star flag. That's the banner for them. We're supposed to have the one the Prophet had. That's the one with the 48 stars on it. Because that represented the 48 historic states that existed as the so-called conglomerate for several states that led to the associate capitis, which they call the Article of Association, which then led to the Associates Confederate, which then becomes the Articles of Confederation, which then leads to the Bill of Rights, which then leads to the Organic Constitution 1787, then bottlenecked and tied up with the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1787. And that's it. So if that wasn't true, then what? And Morocco wasn't here, then why was that treaty signed on the Delaware River? Get out of here, man. Get out of here. And it just so happens it happened in a place where there was a group of people called the Delaware Moors. Okay. Yeah, there was Lenape and Lenabes there too. Of course. And they didn't want to deal with the white man. And that was great. That's good. But just because some of us fell victim don't mean we can't redeem ourselves today. And just because I claim to be Moorish American doesn't mean I'm now not all of a sudden, I don't know, we are Tasalagi or Washoe or Seminole or Yamasi or whatever. I'm actually more of that now. And I've tested it more. I've got on the plane with the headdress on, the big joint. And these white people don't give me no problems. Yeah. And they say, oh, I love your Indian thing. No, this is not an Indian headdress. This is Moorish war bond. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that there was, boom, boom, boom. Then you see what I'm saying? Like this is just to test it. Just to see. Because I be hearing horror stories on the plane. That's my word, Allah. I ain't never have them problems that these niggas be having because they be out here trying to be somebody they not. Yeah. Be yourself.
Oh, I believe you, you know. And it's sad that the only people who wouldn't who wouldn't get this or who fighting against it, they look like us, but then like I'll turn around and have a long discussion with some old 80-year-old Shriner who's of European descent, and he's telling me this is real, this is true. He he's telling me I need to go and wake my people up. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
He's confirming everything you said.
He got into the elevator.
Because I got my fez on.
He got to the elevator with his fez on.
Mm-hmm.
And the white man came in and looked at him and smiled and turned around and turned back around and said, he said, Islam, Moore, it's really good to see Moorish Americans out here doing what you need to do. Your prophet was a great man.
Yeah.
Keep honoring him. White man.
Yeah.
He said, Moore, I was in shock. I didn't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you need to say nothing. That's for him. That's a mitzvah for him.
Yeah.
When they acknowledge us, that gives them an extra year of life. You know
yeah.
Next time somebody of the book, one of them people from the book start talking crap and doing it to you, you tell them, look, I'm a Moor.
Yeah.
My people have been here from thousands upon thousands of years. Therefore, I have the right to curse you and your line from this day forward. You'll never do such and such. Watch what happened.
Yeah.
Watch what happened. These niggas will run you down in the street begging you to take the curse off them.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
Yeah,
I know.
It's real.
I've done it.
It's real.
I real. The other day got a free dinner.
Yeah. Yo, it's real. He's not playing. The brother from Panama asked if all the science, most of the science fiction novels are about Moorish history and culture. Hey, I wanted to ask you, you ever heard of this book called Farnham's Freehold? My homie Jason, he put me up on this, and the reason, like, have you heard of it? The guy who wrote it, he made like the stuff that became Starship Troopers and all that. So he did a lot of science fiction.
Yeah.
So the reason though he
did
put
a lot of short stories too.
Yeah, the reason he brought that Farnham's Freehold to my attention. This book was made in like '64, something like that. So when he put it out, right, the story is set in the future. There's a nuclear war, and there's a European family. They got like a black live-in servant, and they get like trapped in like some time warp, sends them to the future, and in the future everything's flipped. You know what I'm saying? The people that are running things are Moors, and they have their own version of the Quran. The dude had actually read the Quran before, so when he gets his hands on one, he mentions that, in the book, that this is nothing like the Quran. You know what I'm saying? The Muhammadan Quran. So they have their own Quran and their own way of doing things.
That's required reading.
Yeah. So it's probably out of print. You have to, but yeah. So the brother had asked that from Panama, just saying like most of the science fiction novels about us.
All of that stuff, man.
Yeah.
Anything after 1492 is based on you.
Definitely.
Some part of your ancestry or culture. That's why everything the European did from that ushered in the age of exploration. Remember the age of discovery, the age of enlightenment, the age of reason, the age of discovery, the age of exploration, the age of technology, the age of, you see what I'm saying? Like, they got to do that because they're not going to be here that long.
Yeah.
So we measure time in eons and stuff like that. When we reach 25,000 years, we renew our history with 25,000 years. These niggas only been here for about 6,000 years. That's not a long time. And of that 6,000, they only been running stuff for about 2013 of that.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Not even that. I would say about 213.
Yeah.
213 years of that.
Mm-hmm.
So get ready. It's going to come back to you in a way that you didn't even think was going to happen.
Yeah, it's to happen in the blink of an eye.
The only people that's going to have the wherewithal to do it that's not involved with the fiction is us, because we're the only ones that's been declaring that we are not a part of the United States Corporation fiction. Regardless of what they say, we're the only ones that's ever been saying that. We're the only ones that say we was here from the beginning, and our Circle 7 Quran says so.
Yeah.
So they can say what they want, but everything that they talking now, I bet you I can find it in the Circle 7.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yep. Then they're going to say, oh, well, that's the Aquarian gospel of Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So what? What does that have to do? Once the prophet gave it, it became the Circle 7 Quran. Now what?
Yeah.
That don't stop it from being true, because guess what? Eliphas Levi got it from Pascal Randolph. Because that's actually from the Ansiratic Mysteries.
And you know
that. So unless you're about to read the book, The Rights of Euless, or Death and Disembodiment Man, and all of this, you don't know what you're talking about.
And even still, like, that information, that type of information was coming out of that area in the East, like in Egypt, because Aleister Crowley, like Rudolf Hess, maybe Noble Drew
All of
Ali
them.
were
They
all
were
in
always
there.
trying to glean off of what Sheikh Muhammad and all of them was already doing.
And
Kudumi
people
and
like
all the
that
rest
were
of the
coming over here
so-called
as well.
ascended masters. They used to call them the Moors. They called them the Blavatsky called them the Great Mahatmas.
Mm-hmm. There's this guy named
Mahatmas. That's the Moors.
There's this guy named Neville Goddard. I don't know if you ever heard him, but he just like so his teacher was a dark skinned Ethiopian named Abdullah. You know who was Abyssinia.
All
you know
of these Negroes. That's why all of the black and white movies that dealt with that whole era with Bela Lugosi and Vincent Price, all you see them, all of them got on feathers and turbans. They're always in Egypt. How you have a movie called The African Queen with Humphrey Bogart? Like, this is what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
this is the era. They done just switched it up and they got you hating yourself.
Yeah,
you trying to be like them and they trying to be like you. So again, Moors, be yourself. Love yourself.
Exactly.
Love your race. Love your people. Love Allah. Whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? Accept who you really are. Stop trying to bang on niggas because that's what it look cool on Facebook. Don't take what every Moor say on face value. Don't mistake real Moorish science for sovereign citizen rhetoric and jargon that was left over from patriots and left over again as the more on the chat so lovely illustrated. It came from the libertine movement, that came from the Moorish Orthodox Church, that came from the Scottish Rite, that came from the Ordo Orientalis. You see what I'm saying? That came from MI5, MI6, CIA. Okay, all of the skull and bones, all this stuff is the same. Mm-hmm. Don't let them make you think that it's cool to sacrifice people. Don't just take everything on face value. But once you make your assessment and once you declare and do what you got to do, keep it moving, man. Mm-hmm. Link up with Moors that's like-minded like you. If you find yourself debating more than you coming up with strategies on how to make money, and when I say money, I'm talking about real institutional wealth, such as community building, things like that. Look at the registry in your community right now. Go on the comptroller rolls. Look and see how many blocks in the city right now is for sale for less than $40,000. What you buy for a house, you could buy an entire block. You understand? Yeah. What you put in mortgage, you could get an entire block in your hood and turn it into what you want. You really want to get crazy? Let's start buying blocks in the hood and then mow down all of the houses on the joint and then build big pyramids and put everybody in that. In the meantime, that's what we got to do. Like, whatever you want to do, you can do it. Because this nigga Trump is not really trying to stop. One thing I say, he's not trying to stop niggas from making money. He's trying to stop them from making money. He's trying to stop the white man from raping, pillaging money. Whether you realize it or not, these tariffs that he done hit for these companies, they are having to close their ranks. They having to close their doors. They having to move to China to keep their doors open. What you gonna see on TV just as this fire's going on? There's massive layoffs. Thousands upon thousands of people being laid off in one day. Understand? And these are white people. Yeah. You understand? White people, like YPEEPO, white people that's getting locked out, getting burned out, made homeless, getting on welfare Section 8. And what is Trump talking about? We got to get rid of this welfare. We got to get rid of Section 8. Look at what he's doing. But white people don't get it. Yep. And black people think that it's the thing. Because see, what you don't understand, what we all got to understand, and I'll leave it on this. When you try to be their friend, they don't like you. When you do you to the point where you show them that you don't need them to the point of ignoring them, they give you everything you want. So as long as you remember that, Moors, that's equivalent to when the prophet said, go to those who know law and speak in a calm, mild-mannered tone, and you will receive a favorable reply. And every time I've done that, I've got it. Every time I went on some just getting emotional in the thing, I had to get out of it. You see? So, again, thank you for having me on, bro.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. I just wanted to remind everybody the links to his websites in the description. And you have lectures online too, right?
Yes, sir. You can go to www.aseerdukeoftiers.com. You can go to for some of the old lectures or DVDs I've done over the years. You can check me out on YouTube. Subscribe, please, to Aseer, the Duke of Tiers. You could also go to www.gumroad.com, GUMROAD.com, and type in Aseer, the Duke of Tiers in the chat. In the search, and you'll be able to get all of the classes that I've been doing. I also do classes on Sunday nights, 9 Eastern Standard Time, and what else? If you want to hit me up, you can do so at houseofel@hotmail.com. And if you ever want to bring me out for a lecture, workshop, anything like that, nationality drives, we do that. And man, like I said, if you want to check out the Dark Scope 418, you can go on to gumroad.com. You can get the E version right now. I should have the hardcover joints and the color joints and all of that after the new year, after the fiscal new year, excuse me. And trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, Morris, just again, man, keep your head on the swivel. Learn to love instead of hate. Let's accept the fact that we're both to blame, man and woman equally. It's 50% our problems. You know what I'm saying? We can't be blaming each other. And again, we just need one generation. We just need one selfish generation of Moors that's in the sound of my voice to agree to get together community-wise, create a community, the same way you have gated communities that you don't know what's going on in, the same way you can have your own. Ain't nobody going to stop you from doing it, especially if you're Moorish American.
Yeah.
And you got all your paperwork right. And once you do that, let's raise that generation economics to solely focus on Moorish American ideals and as a viable lifestyle option and see what happens. I tell you, within 10 years, 5 to 10 years, man, we'll be running this thing like no problem.
Yeah.
Like it was never a problem, But you gotta know that it can happen, which means you have to believe and have faith in yourself enough to start. So, inshallah.
Islam. Yeah.
Love and light to anybody that support me. Love and light to people who don't. Love and light to, everybody, man. And again, Islam, more. Thank you for having me. Thank you to the Queen as well.
Thanks to you, and peace to you and your family and everybody watching. Man, you need to hit Aseer off with a stack for this, because he just took out 3 hours of his time, like for real. He's investing in us to share all this wisdom and knowledge. And somebody said something about we don't have to buy our land. Look, what the brother said was practical and realistic. Like, but what he said is practical. Like there's like people watching this that's making bread, and you can just get 5 people together and you can buy some land,
Yeah.
So, I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with that.
You don't know how to secure it.
Because the same brother saying that might be going out and buying Jordans with fiats. So it's like, come on, man. What you said was practical. What you said was practical. It's real.
From his perspective too, though. He looking at it like, yeah, but it's our land. We ain't gotta buy it.
I'm with that.
But at the same time, just because you right don't mean that you also, just because you right don't mean you correct or exact. And right now, unless you know how to get the land without the paperwork, like I know how to do that. I've done it. You dig what I'm saying? But I don't blast all of that on the internet. That's all about my private portfolio that I'm building.
Yeah.
And I'm not just going to just put that out there for people to know how to do how I'm doing it, because I'm not trying to have them.
And you're going to come under attack. It's like, come on now.
For those people that privately do the same thing.
Yeah.
See? But what I'm saying is, unless you know how to get it for real like that, then you got to use the tools that are there for you to do it. And right now, that's ferns. Unless you got some gold that you can drop in lieu of the ferns, and you got another option outside of the things that I say, I'm willing to listen. Like, that's why I'm at 2 more. Great. You don't think we need to do that more? How we going to get it? That's what you got to start doing. Okay, Mo, what's your plan for it?
Yeah.
Where's your perspectives on that?
Yeah.
Where is your Rexos? How are we going to achieve that within 5 months?
Yeah.
Unless you can give me that, then it's just talk. You know what I'm saying? So, again, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Everybody got their opinion. But unless you can back it up with real work and real protocols to enact it in the real world, it's all speculation. And we supposed to be operative, not speculative.
Exactly. So let's work from where we're at. All right. Yeah. All right. So, peace. Thanks for coming on again. All right. Appreciate you. All right. So, Moors, this has been a great show. I want everybody to just take a little time out to share this. That's it. Just share it and hit like. If everybody watching this hits like and shares it at least once or twice, that would be amazing and wonderful, so we can help this grow, because I mean it's reaching people. I know I'm not just talking to people who already know this, because like every day we're getting emails and getting contacted from people who are learning from this. So this is great, and we appreciate everyone that's come on here. We appreciate Aseer for investing in us. Okay, we have to like change the way we think and talk too. Like, he didn't spend time, he's investing in us. This isn't just empty talk. We're gonna do something with it. We're all active Moors, right? So we appreciate this opportunity, and definitely everyone that's watched this, make sure you share this at least once or twice, and come back and share it again tomorrow. All right. And so if anybody has any questions too, hit me up. For everybody in Ohio, if you want to help bring Aseer up here for a lecture or for a couple lectures, contact me, Bay, at moorsinamerica.com. All right, so we can get this done. And everybody else, just click the links in the description. You can get in touch with Aseer. You can check out his website and everything. Of course, go to moorsinamerica.com. If you haven't been to moorsinamerica.com by now, you're just watching the YouTubes, I don't know what's up. You need to bookmark the website. All right, because we had a YouTube up like 2 years ago. They shut it down. Can't shut down the website. That's mine. Go there, moorsinamerica.com, and then join us on Facebook. We're on Instagram too. Same thing, at Moors in America, and on Twitter. So that's pretty much it. It's getting late over here, so just thankful for everything. Thankful for all of you. Honest to everybody. Keep tuning in. And that's it. Peace and love to everybody out there. Islam.